Race fans, welcome to Dover International Speedway. Tonight we bring you the running of the 100% Cup Series Throwback Drip 400. I'm Alan Bestwick. Wait a minute, that's not right. Andre Grandbush, and I'm joined in the 3 Wide TV booth once again by Ashton Hartman. And before we get into our thoughts and picks for the race, we're going to quickly get into the grid. We got a little bit of a delayed start tonight. So, the grid for tonight's race is actually a tie for the pole. Bryson Hixenbaugh and Robert Miller both ran a 21.551. Now, how that was decided was Bryson is ahead in the points currently, therefore he got the provisional and he was able to take the pole. So Robert Miller starting on the outside of row 1 alongside Bryson. Row 2 is going to be Cameron Stone in the 57 car alongside Michael Whitaker. Kyle Ammon behind him, as well as Adam Benefiel there in 6th. Preston McRae, Jason Taylor behind them. Dustin Hall, Mason Lowry. Sean O'Brien Jr., Brandon Pierce, Chad Edwards, Raymond Root, and Kevin Steele are going to round out your top 15. The back half of the grid is going to be started out by Bryce Hoffman, Tyler Pinsino, James Pearson, Nolan Hodgson making a return to the league, Brian Samuelson in P20. And then all the way back to 30th, we've got Matthew Gaskins, Dalton Mobley, Chad Sanner, Randy Drumhiller, Alex Princeton, Andrew Russo, Jonathan Delaney, Damaris Hickenbottom, Ryan McDaniel too. And finally, not going to forget him, Patrick Mute, rounding out the field in P30. But we have just a short amount of time before we go racing, Ashton. And I'll tell you what, Dover is a driver's track. You got a lot of banking, a lot of elevation shifting in and out of the corners, and not a whole lot of room for error. What are you expecting to see tonight?
You couldn't have said it better yourself, Andre. It's the Monster Mile, and Miles the Monster, as we've, so affectionately dubbed him. He's hungry. It's a concrete track. It's definitely hard to get around this banking. In fact, just last year, they actually had to do repairs on the track in turn 4 there. A chunk of concrete busted up there, so it's hard on the cars. Cars are hard on the track. It's very much a hate-hate relationship out here, and we're gonna see how it turns out for these guys as we get ready to go green.
And they are off. Bryson Hixenbaugh with a great start on the bottom, but that number 10 car, Robert Miller, holding strong, of course, on the same pro team as Bryson, not the same league team, but same pro team there at Nexus. These guys are pretty much going to be running very similar setups all season long. So to see them tie in qualifying, maybe not the most unexpected thing, but still very impressive to see. And Robert Miller, of course, ever since he's joined the league, he's had a lot of good runs so far. He filled in for Loudmouth Motorsports last week at Darlington. Almost won that race before running out of tires. Before that, I think he got a top 5 at Richmond. So really carrying a lot of momentum into this race as Bryson starts to pull away a little bit. Cameron Stone single filing out as well. Michael Whitaker in that number 58 car dropping back. There's a huge separation forming here, Ashton, between the top 3, and it seems to be the rest of the field behind him.
Yeah, definitely seems to be the case so far in the early laps here, but as this first stage goes on, and the first 2 stages are actually pretty long here. You got 400 laps to do around this 1 mile track. We're gonna see who handles the overall durability of their car better, and that just doesn't boil down to just tire wear, but just how damaged the car is. These guys, the wall's gonna come up quick as the cars get tighter loose on these runs and slides up towards the wall. So they got to manage, how bad the car is getting banged up. They got to keep it from getting banged up. They got to manage that tire wear, especially here at Dover, and they gotta keep their patience and their mind in the game, because 400 laps is nothing to shake a finger at. And as we see, Bryson's already out ahead here, and I love that you brought up that these 2 drivers from Nexus, they got those similar setups, but that you'd think, oh well, that's not as interesting. But honestly, we're gonna get to see who puts in more time. We get to see who puts in more time on the setup. We get to see who's making the better changes between the 2 drivers, and it's just really fun to see these 2 Nexus guys going at it here, especially early in the season.
Absolutely. I'm choking on water, so you'll have to excuse me for a moment. Ashton, if you could continue.
The excitement is palpable. Technical difficulties up in the booth here, ladies and gentlemen, early on in the first stage as Robert Miller chasing Bryson Hixenbaugh, but as we saw last week, that's not going to happen for very long. Definitely once he gets a handle on the car and how everything's playing out in the stages, we saw a dominant performance until he ran out of tires last week. So hopefully he's got a little extra set of tires or two there in the pits tonight. As
We'll have
Cameron,
to see. Go
yeah,
ahead.
Cameron Stone, he's holding his own here. We saw him kind of hang back at Darlington, kind of biding his time, and he tried to make the strike happen at the last moment on the lap that counted, and just wasn't able to get it done. What do we expect to see from Cameron tonight? Do you think, Andre?
I would expect a strong run out of Cam. He's one of those drivers that he loves the tough tracks. He doesn't like the easy cookie cutter 1.5 mile circuits. He likes short tracks, tracks that are hard to drive, even road courses a little bit. Just anything that really you have to throw yourself at and put in a lot of effort. Those are the kinds of tracks that he likes, and that is exactly what this is. So I would expect to see him get a solid top 5 run tonight, if not being in contention to win. But on your screen there for a little while, as we were talking, that was the number 38 of Brandon Pierce. Now, a little bit of news about Brandon Pierce. There has been some silly season action midway through, and Brandon Pierce actually left DGR. He was the owner of that team. He handed over the keys to the shop to Dalton Mobley, and he got picked up by Team Conti alongside Adam Metafiel and Dustin Hall. So moving up into the, I would say, I would say he traded up. I mean, DGR is a fantastic team, but you just can't compare with being on a team alongside, a former Coke Series driver and one of the best crew chiefs really on iRacing. It's an incredible opportunity for him, and I just don't think he could say no to that. Now, that has kind of sent shockwaves throughout the league because DGR held a lot of talent, including Jonathan Delaney, who has 2 wins this season, as well as, I think, 2 or 3 second-place finishes. So, Delaney currently sitting 3rd in points. With his team owner leaving, he wasn't sure where he wanted to go or if he wanted to stick alongside the team. So, Jonathan Delaney sent the owner of Loudmouth Motorsports, I know that guy, a message. He said, hey, and I quote, this is the message that he sent. He said, hey, Andre, it's John up in the booth. You got a copy? And I said, I mean, yeah. Well, he asked if I had a seat open at Loudmouth Motorsports. We pulled some strings, and we found him a seat over at LMM. So he has now left DGR for LMM, where he will remain for the rest of the season. And I'm going to say this about old John. He doesn't really think ahead too much because he signed on to my team. He asked me if he wanted to join. And then last night he said, wait a minute, you guys drive Toyotas? So that's why he's still in the Chevy. He didn't even know what cars we drove. So, but I didn't pay John to know things, right? I don't pay him to know things. I pay him to drive. So if he can get out here and drive and have a good run, well, then we're going to see what happens. But really back to Brandon Pierce, though, it was a fantastic opportunity for him to get picked up by Team Conti, and I'm happy to see it for him. He's been really improving all season long. He's had some really fantastic finishes. I think a 3rd place in Arlington. We got a replay here, Ashton. On the top right of our screen, looks like that is the number 56, Mason Lowry. Up into the outside wall, perhaps, as they work their way down the straightaway. And, of course, the number 53 behind him just scraped the wall, and, of course, the 53 getting a huge run down on the bottom lane. So I think we're going to see a lot of that, Ashton. These walls, they will jump out and bite you, and you get so close to them on exit. The car just wants to drift up, and that's only going to get worse as these tires start to get worn out.
Yep, absolutely. And like you said, we're going to see that all night. It's just, that wall, it comes up quick because, you run these corners like you have every lap, and you don't really notice it until too late. You think you've got some good momentum coming out of the corner, and unfortunately it's too much, and it kind of looked like you got maybe a little bit tight there on the exit, and just, ended up smacking the wall. So definitely collected it up pretty well. He's still sitting in 12th place here. Like you're saying about Brandon Pierce, honestly, that happy for him. I was planning on driving for him this season, and just unfortunately didn't make the cut, but we're hoping to get into it at some point. But definitely paying off well for him already. You see, he's running 9th currently, and he is one of the biggest movers so far of the race. He is definitely moving up into the top 10 and establishing himself early here at Dover. But we also saw at Darlington last week. Fantastic run. I believe he finished 4th or 5th place, and just a fantastic move for him and young John Delaney there. Hopefully we can get him in a Toyota at some point. As we have a wreck in the back, that'll bring out the caution. Look, I believe Jameson Pearson involved in that one.
Yeah, looks like it might have. I mean, it was a single car incident. Whether or not he got help going around, I'm not sure. We'll have to take a look at the replay here as we get that queued up. So there's the 22 on your screen, and as he comes around the corner, what is going to happen? He's got a car right behind him, which can get you loose, but there is contact. Definitely just a situation. Two cars going for the same real estate, and unfortunately, with the way these inside barriers are here, there is no runoff. If you leave the straightaway in any form or fashion, the wall is immediately going to catch you. So, unfortunately, a lot of front end damage to that number 22 machine. Hopefully, he can get some of that fixed up. As you can see, the 96 just kind of, or I'm sorry, the 95 just sort of drifted up a little bit, and kind of out of his control. When you hit that shift in elevation, it kind of unsettles your car and it makes it want to drift up. So just a tough situation early on for that 22.
Yeah, and he was having a little bit of a struggle in practice as well. A bunch of drivers were with just, you know, the conditions of the racetrack. You know, maybe the setups they're running being a little on the looser side, and hopefully he can get that gathered up. A lot of left side damage there to the car, so hopefully he can make something better of the night. I'm loving that Muppet scheme he's got on that 22 car. Definitely an interesting paint scheme. Hopefully it doesn't bang up Kermit too much out there.
I'm definitely interested in this strategy. I mean, everybody pretty much made their way down pit road. I don't see anybody um, opting to stay out on the track. And we are 23 laps in, so their lap times did begin to deteriorate. I'm sure the tires were really starting to fade away. But after last week at Darlington, with what happened to Robert Miller and him running out of tires, being unable to take any at the end of the race when everybody else could, I would think these drivers would be a little bit more, I guess, conservative with their tire use. But no, everybody has come down pit road, and I'm not entirely sure if they can make it to the end of the stage. We are on lap 23. It'll probably be about 26 before we go green. And stage one is going to end at lap 120. So quite a ways to go, just under 100 laps, which I think is going to be cutting it rather close, Ashton.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be close here. Like you said, I'm sure they get quite a few tire sets here at Dover. I'm not sure how generous Kevin and Damaris were on dishing out the tires for this race, but hopefully not too generous. As they get back to going green, that's something that Robert Miller, I'm sure, is keeping in mind this week. He was able to impressively hold on to it for fourth place, but yeah, just these last two tracks have been all about tire wear and having these good restarts. And as you can see, we saw Bryson and Robert get out to a great start here early on the first initial restart. So it'll be interesting to see what Robert does here with Cameron Stone on the high side there. As I believe the lights are about to go out on the pace car and get back going here in
Absolutely, and
another lap or two.
we will be getting green very shortly. And it's going to be, like you said, very interesting to see with this front row. Bryson with not a very good pit stop, losing a lot of time. He was out front when he came in, fortunately losing a ton of positions. You can see Team Conti slowly working their way up the grid behind them there. Dustin Hall and Adam Benefiel now making up row 2 and row 3 back there on the outside. So this is going to be, I think, a handful for this front row. I mean, right now they've got some very fast drivers behind them as the lights go off on the pace car. And one thing you guys might notice is we do have some more throwbacks in field today. This race is, of course, called the Throwback Drip 400. And I guess everybody just liked the throwback race last week so much that they decided they wanted to do it all over again. So keep a close eye out for some of these paint schemes. I know Chad Edwards is among those who brought back their throwback scheme. In his case, it was because he kind of wrecked it on lap 1 last week, and he said, "I want to get a chance to actually drive this car."
I
But
believe that's
yeah,
the same thing Kevin Steele did this week too. He's back in that Rainbow Warrior scheme, and I got to tell you, I like how it looks. I'm not picking favorites here early on who I hope to see in victory lane, but it'd be really cool to see the Rainbow car.
absolutely, we'll have to get a race 1 diecast of that if he if he manages to bring home the win. But here we go, pace car About to make that hard left turn. Cameron Stone lagging behind a little bit on the outside lane by just about half a car length. What does Robert Miller do? As the control car, he's going to go very early into the corner, and he has a massive lead already. As they cross the stripe, it's going to be about 4 car lengths. Cameron Stone keeping pace now, but it did take him a minute to catch up, and now back behind him in third is going to be the number 58, Michael Whitaker, who's currently engaged in battle with 83, Adam Benefield, who just passed him on the high side, almost scrapes the wall to do it. Adam Benefield, again, running the same throwback from last week, the throwback to one of the original Junior Motorsports paint schemes. Of course, Team Conti heavily affiliated with Dale Jr., and so that's kind of a tribute to, as Adam says, the boss man. So very cool paint scheme. I do like the way that car looks, and we get to see that car running up front today.
Oh, contact!
And Preston McCrae coming across radio saying, sorry, I didn't quite catch what happened there, but it sounds like you did, Ashton.
Yeah, look, it kind of looked like, yeah, just, I can't tell whose car that is, but Kevin Steele getting some front end damage there on the nose as they're coming out of turn 2. Preston McCrae probably, it looks like he checked up there,
and we do have a replay queued up for you guys. So on the top right of your screen, there's what happened. Jonathan Delaney side by side in front of them, and then McCrae just a little bit into the outside wall, and it sort of bounced him down the track. And he kind of forced somebody down towards the inside. Luckily, nobody really wrecking out from that. Could have been worse. We say that every week, it seems like, but everybody's able to make their way out of that, and really no worse for wear. Like you said there, Ashton, I think Kevin might have got
the Samuel
a little bit of damage.
Bad end of that.
Yeah, I almost missed that it was Samuelson. He's also running, I'm not sure if it's a throwback, but it is a different scheme. He's been running that red car all season long, so kind of weird to see it change up. But on your screen right now, though, that is the number 20, piloted by Kyle Ammon. He is currently running T12. Passed quite a few cars already tonight, trying to hunt down the top 10, and cars ahead of him have a little bit of damage. Samuelson, like you said there, Ashton, he's got some rear end damage, maybe going to give an opportunity to Ammon to close the gap.
Yeah, and he's definitely closing the gap quick here with Mason Lowry in tow. I'm seeing a lot of guys at the back end of the field with a lot of damage early here. I didn't think, in the first 50 laps we would see quite this much damage, but I guess the setups are proving a little tricky for these guys. I can't imagine it's easy to drive right now with the temp of the track and how the tires are. They're still early into it. They're learning how much their cars can take. Usually you see them kind of clean it up by the end of practice, but this track is called a monster for a reason, and it's constantly you have to adapt to it, and you gotta be on your toes, because you can tame the lady in black, but I don't think there's any taming Miles the Monster.
Absolutely, and as we ride on board with Cameron Stone, you can see those are the intervals. It has been Miller that has been a little bit faster on 4 of the last 5 laps, but these intervals are so minuscule that really nobody's getting away from each other here. It seems like Cam will fall back for 4 or 5 laps, and he'll make it all back up on the 5th. As you can see, last time around he was 0.07 faster, 0.02 that time. It seems like these cars are very, very equally matched, and at exit speed right there, you can see Cameron Stone shot up out of the corner, closing the gap, getting right up on the bumper, and as they go through 3 and 4, 10 car is going to slide up a little bit. Cameron Stone's going to slide down, and I think that slightly different line that Stone's running is going to be the difference here.
Yep, and definitely a masterful just control of the car right there by Cameron Stone, as he's just kind of hanging off the bottom a little bit more than the 10, but he's really making it work there, as he's always reeling them back in by the time they enter the next set of corners. So it'll be interesting to see how the long run looks for both these two drivers, whether the 10 falls off as they get to their first lap car here in the early first stage of Drumhiller, I believe. And that kind of allows Cameron here to pull up and get the closest he's been in this whole battle. As he kind of lags back here, I think he's just kind of waiting for his moment to strike. A little bit more cautious than last week. He knows it's still early. He knows it's not go time yet. maybe just trying to inherit the lead a little less aggressively this week. Is that battle going to continue here? I believe somebody just pulled onto pit road. It looked like Kevin Steele trying to get some of that front end damage. I'm sure it's holding up the aero on his car quite a bit. So hopefully he can get some of that. We've got a lot of damage at the back end of the field. I know Dalton Mobley's missing a front end. A couple other drivers just not the beginning of the race they'd hoped to see, Andre. But,
No, and that's exactly kind of how Dover goes. I mean, it seems like things happen and they happen fast. It's not one of those tracks where chaos breaks out at the end. It tends to happen at the beginning when there's more cars on track.
Yeah, absolutely. And we haven't had I don't believe we've had any drivers out of the race yet, but
Sounds like Raymond Root actually might be out, according to our producer. I'm not sure if he actually even started.
yeah,
I think he might have missed the gridding, unfortunately. But right now, I gotta say, Ashton, I'm pretty surprised how racy this is right now. I mean, a lot of side-by-side battles, a lot of cars that are right on each other's bumper. And I mean, 20 or so laps into this run since the last caution, you'd think with the tires wearing, things would be kind of getting single file stretched out, but no. A lot of drivers battling it out, as you can see Preston McRae in that 53 car, or I'm sorry, that's the number 37. Similar paint schemes, I apologize. A 37 car piloted by Jason S. Taylor, making a move on the low line there. And now that he's got around him, he's going to hold that low line, try to run down Brandon Pierce and Jonathan Delaney, the former teammates running nose to tail currently, which may be a bit of an interesting situation there, Ashton. I don't know if there's any love lost between these guys, but definitely something to watch maybe when you see these guys bumper to bumper.
I wouldn't say there's any hard feelings there, but caution's going to come out. Oh man!
Oh no!
John Delaney's rear end destroyed there as he had to check up.
And we're going to take a look at the replay here. The number 46, Patrick Much. He is up high, going a lap down at this point, and then as Cameron Stone comes over, closing in behind, gets up into the wall a little bit, goes down to the apron, comes back up on the track, and slams Cameron Stone into the outside wall where they both go airborne.
Oh man!
What happened there?
And it just looked like he dove down there on the apron, and I'm not quite sure what happened there.
I mean, he didn't dive down by choice. He got up into the wall, and it kind of slingshotted him down towards the bottom, which happens. I mean, we saw that earlier in the race with the number 53 Preston McRae. But what I don't understand there is the choice to come back up the track with cars behind you. That kind of a baffling choice.
Yeah, and it may have looked like from his telemetry that he kind of he's definitely trying to get on the brakes there and slow down, and maybe he just locked it up as straight as he went back up the track.
Yeah, he was trying to turn. You're right, Ashton. He locked up the brakes, unfortunately, and that made him just slide straight. And Cameron Stone, of course, being right in the crossfire. Both of those cars.
That will end Patrick Much's night. His front end was pretty much gone there from earlier damage, and
this is the number 9's perspective, Jonathan Delaney, in that Reese's car. You can see everything happen in front of him, and he does his best to lock up his tires and just narrowly avoid that incident. That was a great move by the number 9. I mean, that was some fast thinking to be able to keep that car under control. Now on board with Cameron Stone, this will be the perspective. As you can see, there goes Patrick right into the outside wall, slides it back down, and then the brakes lock up, and no time to react, nowhere to go, nearly up and over, and Cameron Stone's car comes to rest on all fours, but heavily, heavily damaged after that incident.
Definitely a good save by Delaney there.
And that is going to hand the lead to Delaney. That
curious
Recco version.
Curious to wonder what his strategy is here with a lot of that rear end damage. I don't know how if he's going to be able to get it done here. I mean, it's not a aero dependent heavy track, but Be interesting to see for sure how his car handles after all that damage from Brandon Pierce, who looked like he got out.
Absolutely will be interesting. We're going to go ahead and we're going to actually try to bring Jonathan Delaney into the booth momentarily, just for a minute here as we bring him into the booth. Jonathan Delaney, you got a copy?
I do, Andre.
John, that was a heck of a move to avoid the wreck and the chaos ahead of you involving the 46 and the 57. Now you got the race lead. What's your strategy for the rest of this stage?
Well, I started in the back, so I was stuck in 30 air pretty much, just working my way up through the field. I'll keep this short, but I think just try and save tire sets. I think we also last week how Robert lost the race because he didn't have an extra set at the end. So we're gonna try and avoid that this week. So we're gonna save this set. Use as little as we can until the last stage. That's pretty much the plan.
All right, well, you heard it here first. Tire conservation, something we talked a little bit earlier, Ashton. So, John, we know the race is going to get started real soon, so we're going to put you back up in your team chat. But good luck with the rest of the stage, and hopefully you get it done.
Thank you, guys.
And that is John out of the booth, back to his team chat. And
So
go ahead.
as we got a bunch of old tires at the front, as Bryson pointed out there to his teammates and the other drivers. As we see Cameron Stone being scored, I believe 2 laps down now, trying to get some of that damage fixed. I gotta wonder if maybe that ends his night. He had a fantastic looking car. I was curious to see what he was gonna do with it this first stage and second stage. But I think maybe his night is shot, unfortunately, from that incident.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. I know that was a heavy hit to the outside wall, so even if he is getting that damage fixed, he's going to go laps down. Like you said, he's already scored 2 laps down, and that's only going to increase as we go green here. So we'll keep an eye on Cam, see if he makes it back out on track to try and salvage some points. But right now, the pace car making that hard left turn. Jonathan Delaney, that number 9 car, is going to get on the throttle really early. And the number 20, Kyle, he's lagging back a little bit there. We're just going to put him side by side with Chad Edwards and Mason Lowry. Actually got a bit of an LMM train here. We got Mason, Chad, and Bryce all in a line alongside Robert Miller, who started a little bit further back. But already, the drivers who took tires, I believe Robert Miller was among them, as well as Adam Benefiel. And they didn't have to. They don't have too many cars to pass. They didn't lose that much track position. Only a handful of cars opting to stay out. But I don't know, man. I couldn't tell you which strategy I would have pulled right there, Ashton, because I feel like John is right. Tire conservation is very important in this race, especially after what happened last week with Robert Miller. But at the same time, if you're banking on maybe less cautions later in the race, we do have a 10 tire set limit. So that is fairly generous. 1 more set than we had last week.
Yep, definitely. And being able to go on these sets of tires a little bit longer, maybe. And it's looking like it's working out for young John Delaney here as Robert takes the lead here. John giving up to him effortlessly, just probably still trying to conserve those tires, knowing he doesn't have anything for him. But I gotta say, John definitely got out to a good restart here, and he's still holding his own pretty well on those worn tires. I know that rear end damage doesn't seem to be holding him up too much. As Benefield takes second, and we have, I believe, the 65 of Sean O'Brien moving up here. Is John Delaney going to fade back a little bit here? Hopefully hold on to it for some stage points, or hopefully not hopefully saying another caution comes out, but I'm sure John is hoping for one. As the 37 going to make a run here on him, and Bryson as well moving up through the grid here, making a move on Brandon Pierce in 3 and 4.
Bryson not spending as much time at the front of the field so far as maybe we would have expected after his impressive pole performance, but it wasn't on-track mishaps that set him back. It was pit road in that first caution. Everybody made their way down. He just lost 7 or 8 cars worth of track position, so he's been fighting for the remainder of this race so far just to kind of get back out there and work his way towards the front. And he's making his way up there. He just got around Delaney for 5th, currently lapping Damaris Hickenbottom, who we don't want to give the commentators curse, so moving on from that, Bryson's continuing his charge, and he's got a bit of a gap now. After getting around Delaney, whoa! Car into the wall ahead of Bryson. That was Jason S. Taylor, who got big big sideways, giving up a lot of time. That is going to allow Bryson to close up nearly 0.6 of a second in a single lap. So definitely making big moves in that 63 car right now.
Yep.
We got a replay queued up of the 37, so you can see just a little bit tight on corner exit. He's able to save it before that inside wall strikes, and he's going to keep her going there. So good save by the 37, but again, Ashton, that's what, the third or fourth time we've seen that outside wall sneak up on somebody?
Yeah, and we could probably make a whole segment just tonight on how many times that's going to happen tonight, and just get into the science of why that keeps happening. But we won't bore you with the details. Just know that we're going to mention it a lot, and you should just expect it at this point for those watching at home. As we see Bryson just masterfully pulling up to the 37 even after the incident, and they got back going. It just seems like he's got better car control than a lot of these guys early on, and I wonder if that's going to go away for him, if these guys are going to figure it out and maybe have a better handle on these machines going around the Monster Mile, or if maybe Bryson's got an edge that's going to get him another win here. He actually was able to pull it off last week at Darlington. We didn't think he was going to after he spun on his tires on the last restart, but I'm sure he's taking that momentum and taking it in stride here as we see him already up to Benefiel and working on him for, I believe that is third place. Sean O'Brien moved up to second and is trying to chase down the leader.
Yeah, Sean O'Brien, he has been moving his way up through the grid. We haven't really talked about him much other than when he got around Delaney, but Sean last week at Darlington, he had a rough night. He got involved in a lot of incidents, most of which were not his fault. The car was looking pretty dinged up by the end of the day, and somehow he brought it home in the top 6, I believe. So a fantastic run last week, and it seems like he's trying to carry that momentum into this week, as now he is running down Robert Miller for the lead. But we do have a driver in the infield care center, so let's go ahead and quickly run down there and see if we can have a word with him. It's going to be Cameron Stone down here at the infield care center. Cam, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Cam, you're having a great night. Keyword were. And then a lapped car, Patrick Much, got into the wall in front of you, locked up the brakes. Nowhere to go for you in that 57 car. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I talked to Patrick, and they actually put us in the same ambulance. He's sorry. He said he was trying to get out of Robert's way and just got into the wall, and it hooked left on him, and he tried to lock him up, stay down there, but the track turns, so nothing you can really do about that. I'm mad, man. It's senseless. If you get wrecked by somebody going for a position or anything like that, that's one thing, but getting wrecked by a lap car that is just out of control and already off the pace it's a pretty bad kick in the head there.
Yeah, and it was a hard hit. When you hit that outside wall, your car nearly went up and over, as well as his car as well. Is your day done? Is that car just beyond repair? Or are you trying to get that thing fixed up and salvage some points?
Guys are working on it now. The clip's gonna be bent all to shit. Oh, sorry, wasn't supposed to say that. Sorry. Okay. Well, yeah, the front's gonna be bent. It's not gonna turn very well. Probably got to put a radiator on it, but gonna try to get back out there and just cruise around, see how many other people die, and get some points. I mean, we're still racing for some bonus points when we get to the playoffs and the team championship as well. Got a new meaning this week, so gonna try to help out the team. Kevin already had some trouble and he blew his engine, so gotta go out there and get all I can get for him.
Absolutely. So we hadn't even noticed the Kevin Steele situation with the blown engine there, but before the incident, when you're out there running, what to you felt like the key out here? Because it looks like a lot of these guys are struggling to conserve their tires, and they're trying to do their best just to keep the car underneath them, but this track seems to really be fighting out there.
Yeah, the problem with this track, well, really any concrete track, is it's just a low amount of grip. So a lot of guys are going to be trying to have a tight setup because you're just going to be loose if you try to set the car up loose to begin with. So that early run on the cold tires is going to be rough if you're banking on your long run speed. So you've seen guys, I know Robert's one of them, Bryson got out there really quick, and I was with them, that have a lot of short run speed. I was actually kind of feeling like there were guys behind us that had better long run cars that were pacing themselves better. So we might not have been in the best position long run wise. But that's just the battle you're going to deal with at a concrete track. You know, you can get out there 2 seconds ahead of somebody, and it's just whether you can get out there far enough where they can't reach you on that long run set. So conserving the tires and making sure that the thing doesn't get too tight towards the end, that's really what these guys are going to be looking for.
Absolutely. Ashton, you have any questions or anything for Cameron Stone down here at the Infield Care Center?
I gotta say, Cam, I was kind of rooting for you early here. Hate to see you in the Infield Care Center. You always give a good interview, though, so we appreciate it. You just had a string of bad luck, it seems, just being, you know, in the right place, but just having the wrong outcome. How do you kind of mitigate this moving forward? I know you guys still have a lot of momentum, but you know, this has got to put a damper on you guys week to week.
Well, last week was really bad for everyone else on the team. I mean, I had a shot to win it, and I went for it because, I mean, hell, you got to go for it. But still, sorry to John about that one. Looking back at it, that was a little bit, I don't know what Dirt said, ambitious. But yeah, it was a tough week for the team, and I was basically the only one still on the track at the end. And then this week, Kevin got into some trouble and blew the motor early, and then that happens to me. So looking at Preston and Damaris to try to salvage what they can out of it. It's been a couple bad weeks for the team here, but going to, well, we got Coda next, so we're going to a road course. I'm fairly good at those. Expect to see John, myself, and probably Bryson up front there. So you just got to have a short memory in these things. You know, I can't show up next week thinking about how mad I am at Patrick. Got to get over it and just keep on trucking.
Yep, absolutely, and hopefully better luck for you at Coda next week. It's going to be interesting for sure. I don't think any of these drivers have been there, so it'll be a fresh new take for all of you guys. So hopefully you can enjoy the rest of your night, Cam, and get some good stage, or just salvage the stages here and some points tonight. And best of luck to you.
Yeah, y'all make sure to get me some TV time so my mom can see me in my tore up race car. So. I'll be back out there. Get me as Robert's passing.
Now, Mother's Day was last week, Cameron, so you're a little late there, buddy.
Yeah, I tried to give her a present. I know John's mom's mad at me, so.
I would imagine. Yeah. All right, Cam. Well, thanks for your time. And we got a pit sequence starting, so we're going to take a gander at that. But again, thanks for your time, Cam, and good luck once you get back out there.
All right, boys. Appreciate it.
That was Cameron Stone out of the booth. But looks like we had Benefield moving up into P2 there, able to overtake Sean O'Brien Jr., now trying to hunt down our current race leader, Robert Miller. Who has about 1.5 seconds on him. And as I mentioned while we were talking to Cam, we do have a couple of cars that are making their way down pit road, including Bryce Hoffman. So maybe some of these drivers not good to the end there, Ashton.
Yeah, I would believe they're not. As Bryce Hoffman looked like he's going to take 4 tires and some Sunoco fuel here, get back out on track. He's definitely got a lot of left side damage with a 19-second stop. I'm sure he was trying to get some of those fenders pulled out. Interesting to note, RJ Root has finally joined the track, and he's obviously passing a lot of cars here. He's on the fresher tires and everybody late into this run, but it is a gorgeous number 8 chrome throwback. That is definitely a gorgeous car on track. Would have been cool to see it as we grid it up, but not sure what happened there. But he's trying to salvage his day. Like you heard from Cameron Stone, that's all you can do once you just have something like that out of your control happen. And that's twice, 2 weeks in a row we've seen, Adam Benefield last week. We saw Cameron Stone this week, and I mean, he went for the win last week and had nothing to show for it except, I believe a top 10, but with a wrecked race car. It was just there's a lot of unpredictability here, and you're not safe up at the front, as we've shown. Whether it's a lap car, whether it's a restart gone wrong, we're seeing that the leaders got to stay on their toes. They get these. I know Robert Miller is way out ahead now. He's got about a second on Adam Benefield, but he is miles ahead of everybody on this 1 mile racetrack. As we see the 22 getting the wall there a little bit behind him. It's just not even being up front out of what you believe is harm's way is not out of harm's way here.
Absolutely, and it does seem to be kind of difficult for the lap traffic here tonight, and you can't blame them. You got a track that's so narrow, and like Cam said, they're running setups that are really, really tight because they want to be able to counteract the looseness that you feel on this concrete. And unfortunately, sometimes that tightness bites you as you come out of the corner. That outside wall sneaks up on you, and it makes it very hard to change lanes and make sure that you steer clear of the leaders as they come around. So definitely a tough situation, and given how short this track is, being just about a mile, hence the name, the Monster Mile, you're kind of always in traffic. These cars never really seem to get away from each other, really no time to breathe. It's not technically a short track, but it sure does drive like one at times. And we got a car hard into the inside wall, and 95 made huge impact there, and that's going to bring out the yellow flag. That was Nolan Hodgson, who is making his league return. At the time, he was scored 1 lap down back in 18th, and it looks like he just got a little loose coming out of the corner like we've seen so many times tonight, Ashton.
Yep, just driving it hard there, a little bit loose, and that's all it takes. And some of these drivers with not as much experience at Dover, they panic a little bit, maybe they overcorrect, and there's just not a lot of real estate to get that car gathered back up, and definitely a hard hit for that 95. That is a gorgeous paint scheme. Not so gorgeous now that Miles has taken a chunk out of it. Just not maybe the night he was hoping for his return.
Now, and we're seeing it time and time again that when these drivers get into the outside wall, they kind of have to juke the wheel to get off of it, and it just sends them hurling towards that inside wall, and there's just nowhere to go. So I think we're going to continue to see this, especially once we get these longer runs and the tires are worn. That is something that we're going to see continually.
Now, is that juke? Is that a technical NASCAR term there, Andre?
I would say it's it's a term we use in the business,
Roger that. Yeah, as you heard from Cameron Stone earlier, just kind of giving a quick update. Patrick Much is out of the race, 42 laps down. He is okay as well, but he declined an interview from the Infield Care Center. That team just kind of packing it up and just going about with their night. Unfortunate for them. Kevin Steele, who had a blown engine, I figured that front end damage was going to cause trouble, and it did. Seems like that rainbow scheme's a little bit of bad luck for Mr. Steele. Hopefully he can do something better with it. I would imagine he's going to run it at Coda, but we'll see. I got to say, speaking of, we're talking about bad luck, how about some good luck here? Ryan McDaniel, one of our biggest movers of the race so far, started in 29th place, and we watched him before the caution. He had moved up into the top 10. He was actually past Brandon Pierce and moving towards the top 5.
Absolutely. And we mentioned that this race was kind of a pseudo throwback race, the Throwback 2.0. And Ryan McDaniel, that paint scheme might not look like a throwback, but it is. That car was actually driven by Bingo Matthews, the world-renowned bingo champion of 1985. He decided to try his hand in NASCAR after winning the bingo championship in 1986. He actually went on to win 13 consecutive championships, and his reign of dominance in the sport was tragically brought to an end when he was struck by an out-of-control hay bale in the year 2000, killing him instantly the next day. So just a tribute there to good old Bingo Matthews from Ryan McDaniel. And it's the kind of thing you see in these throwback races.
Hold on. My mic is hot.
Interesting tributes.
Hold on. My mic is hot. How does, and that's a tragic death, but how does somebody die instantly the next day?
Well, he died the next day and it was instant.
How? No, that's, you keep saying that word. I don't think you know what it means.
How does How's instant oatmeal made, Carlos? It's instant.
Yeah,
Put it in
when
the
I,
put it in the microwave for
I
5
get the
minutes,
milk,
and then it
I
instantly is made.
put it in the oatmeal, and boom, it's done. I don't get the milk, put it in the oatmeal, and the next day it's instantly oatmeal. That's not how that works.
Well,
Are you questioning my math, Carlos? Is that what I'm understanding?
one
No,
of
we're not
life's
doing math right
mysteries.
now. No, put that away. We're not doing math right now. All right, look, he didn't die instantly the next day. That's all I'm trying to say. All right, my mic is cold again.
All right. So Carlos, not agreeing with my math, but you know, as a historian of Bingo Matthews, the Bingo champion of 1985, I can confirm that everything I said was 100% statistically accurate. It's absolute facts. You can look it up on the internet, and as we all know, the internet never lies. Nothing on the internet is false. If anybody says it is, they're the ones that are lying to you because they're not on the internet. Anyways, lights are off on the pace car, and it is going to be that number 53 car, Preston McRae, leading the way. That rhymed. And here we go. Number 16, Ryan Samuelson on his outside. When does he get on the throttle? A little bit later than a lot of the other leaders. Whoa, Samuelson hard into the outside wall. That's going to cause a huge checkup. The 37 forced to lift. Everybody going around the low side. 3 wide with Samuelson for a moment there. And that did not bring out the caution yet as Tyler Pinsino nearly making contact with the number 56, Mason Lowry. Looks like now, finally, half a lap later, they've got this sorted out.
As Adam Benefield, I believe, said he was pitting. Not sure if he got some damage there or if he just having issues with the car. Possibly a penalty. But yeah, a lot of unfortunate work in there. Yep, Adam Benefield reporting he does have a black flag penalty. Probably going for a pass through there.
So another heavy hitter struck with some bad luck, unfortunately. So Adam Benefield getting the black flag. I believe he may have gotten a penalty for passing before the green flag. As we take a look, Samuelson is up into the outside wall off pace. Benefield has nowhere to go. He's being pushed by Bryson and the number 37, so he goes down low. And as you can see, he passes him for the line. Now, Adam Benefield, in the eyes of, well, everybody, I mean, he didn't do anything wrong there. He was avoiding a wreck. However, the rule is clear. You don't pass on the inside before the line. You can pass on the outside, but if you pass on the inside, that is a penalty. And regardless of the circumstance, that is what Benefield did. So he had to come down and serve a pass to them.
And it's just unfortunate. Another heavy hitter there. He was up to second place for a while. Just not the night a lot of these guys at the front of the field and that are already locked in the playoffs were hoping for. I know Robert Miller's still trying to get it done at the front there, but not going to not going to jinx anybody this week. But it's just, you know, they gotta be cautious here. They gotta be wondering, hey, you know, what's coming next? What could possibly go wrong? And they're just trying to find whatever they can to salvage that. As I believe we have Nolan Hodgson in the infield care center now, the number 95 driver.
All right, we're going to run down, try to bring him up. Nolan Hodgson, you got a copy?
Sure.
Well, Nolan, it was not the end of your night that you wanted to see. Unfortunately, that outside wall just reached out a little bit too far. And we've seen plenty of drivers have it happen to them tonight where it seems like that outside wall, you get stuck to it, and then it shoots you down towards that unforgiving inside wall. Just walk me through what happened there.
Yeah, car was super loose that entire run. We decided not to take tires on that pit stop because, you know, at the rate of cautions, yeah, we weren't going to have enough tires, so we decided to, you know, save a set and not pit. And of course, it bit us in the butt because, you know, there was no caution in that next 20-lap run there. So it was super loose, pretty much the entire run. Got loose, hit the wall, and then obviously you guys know the rest.
Yeah, again, it was really unfortunate to see how that ended, and that sentiment that you kind of mentioned there about how loose this track is. We heard the same thing from Cameron Stone, who we interviewed in the Infield Care Center not long ago. The track out there really seems to be just fighting the drivers. They're really struggling loose. number one, are you going to be able to get your car back out there? Are you going to get some damage repaired and get out there and salvage some points? And if you do, what are you going to try to do setup-wise to make some changes and maybe get that car handle a little bit better?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna throw that back on track. The damage was pretty extensive. If I were to go back on the track, I would pretty much be a nuisance to the fast guys. So, like I said, tough way to end the night. I'll have to come back at it next week.
All right. Well, Nolan, it's unfortunate that the car is that beat up, and we hate to see that end of your night. But before that happened, it really did seem like you had to hang on that car. It looked like you were having a good night. So keep your head up, carry this momentum into next week, and knock it out of the park, bud.
Guys.
That was Nolan Hodgson out of the booth. And while that was going on, Ashton, we had a caution come out. Looked like it was contact between the number 99, again, that Bingo Matthews throwback, and a little bit of bump and rub with Tyler Pinsino, and maybe a little bit more than that.
Yeah, just crazy things happen. I know we were trying to get an interview done there, and apologize that we a little bit late on this caution review. But yeah, just a lot of restarts are going to be like this. We're going to see guys. You know, we saw Preston McRae, sorry, drop back on the restart. We saw Ryan Samuelson spin the tires and get into the wall, and just chaos abounds until the cars kind of filter out there and get lined up. As we see Cameron Stone getting back out in the field, trying to salvage a night there. Cars definitely looking worse for wear. But that's something that we're going to see on all these restarts is these guys, I mean, they're restarting right there coming out of 4, and they're still kind of midway through the corner as the pace car drops down. They get to going, and I mean, it's not hard when you're turning a little bit left there. You spin the tires, try to get on the throttle, step on the loud pedal, and the grip levels here on the concrete, they just, especially on cold, fresh new sticker tires, they just they spin out like we saw Ryan Samuelson do. It's going to be interesting to see who takes care of it on the restart. We've got a lot of heavy hitters that thought they had the win in the bag last week, and they spun the tires. And I mean, Bryson was able to save it, but you might not get so lucky here at Dover.
No, and I'll tell you what, these front 2 rows are going to be quite this show, I think. We got some heavy hitters making up the first 2 rows. We got Bryson Ixenbaugh and Robert Miller up front again. And now, back behind them, we also have Brandon Pierce and Sean O'Brien Jr., who have had some really fantastic runs so far tonight. I mean, Brandon Pierce has done a lot of passing out there tonight. He has passed a ton of cars, and now he is so close to the front. He can taste that lead, and we're going to be going green with exactly 20 to go in the stage, so a very short shootout to the stage caution, which means these drivers are going to be giving it their all. And I tell you what, a lot of talent up here. It's going to be on the ragged edge. And Jonathan Delaney also not far behind in that number 9. He's another driver who's been doing pretty well tonight, even despite the damage and the circumstance. But not to discount Dustin Hall either. I mean, he's back there in the number 1. We haven't talked about him much, but he's on row 3 inside. And we know those Team Conti machines are fast.
And I mean, I definitely wouldn't count those guys out, but also another guy's been running up front there. He's hanging back in 11th right now, but the 20 car there, that driver, I think he's definitely going to move his way back up as we go green here.
There's a huge jump for Robert Miller in that number 10 machine, who also signed on to a team. I believe he is now driving for, actually, let me check my notes so that I'm not incorrect in this. He's running for DGR. So, although Delaney did leave DGR, DGR is still a team. Again, it's under the management of Dalton Mobley, and they picked up Robert Miller. And let me tell you, I cannot praise their driver choice enough. Robert Miller, again, he is a driver that any team in this field would be absolutely lucky to field. Again, I had the privilege of having him fill in for one of my drivers at Loudmouth Motorsports last week in Darlington, and he did a fantastic job. So DGR definitely picking up a heavy hitter, and they're looking to get a win here tonight if Robert Miller can keep this pace up, which I think he can, because let me tell you, Ashton, that number 10 has not wavered all night long. It seems like he has been on the ball all night long. No mistakes, no bobbles. He's out here running lap times faster than almost anybody else, but it really looks like he's just cruising.
Yeah, but you gotta think who's behind him there. His teammate in Nexus, Bryson, is starting to figure out the car a little bit better as we get to the finish of the first stage, the conclusion here of the first stage. Bryson's taking notes. He's keeping pace with him, and he's only about 8/10 back right now. And if you looked during practice, Bryson ran a 21.656. Robert Miller was right behind him with a 21.669. So really between those two and Cameron Stoner in a 21.74 in practice, those three cars at the time, those not even a tenth of a second between each other when it came to their speeds. So I think they're going to be back and forth all night if Bryson could get to him here in the next, I believe, 14 laps or so. It'll be interesting to see if Robert gets the stage win here.
And with how these two drivers, Robert Miller and Bryson Nixon-Bott, tied in qualifying, I mean, the pace doesn't get any closer than that. You cannot be closer than a tie. And like you said, even in practice, they were still neck and neck. Nobody had yet found the advantage. And even now, 107 laps into the race out of 400, I still don't think either of these guys has found the edge because they are lapping really similar. Robert Miller got a 10th of a second advantage last time, but it looks like we got an issue with the 53. Preston McRae down in the inside wall. He locks up the tires. Doesn't look like too much damage, if any. And we're going to somehow avoid a caution there, Ashton.
Yep. a little bit of apologizing to Cameron Stone there. I know he's trying to salvage his laps. Might have possibly got into that incident with Preston. Preston just trying to hold on at this point. It seems like that car's been ill handling since the past couple restarts or so, and I mean, at this.
And on our 3-wide TV multicam, on the bottom left, that's the battle for second. On the top right, that's the replay. Preston just a little bit loose coming out of turn 4. And of course, I think that heat in his tires is probably what caused him to slide again into 1 and 2, because the way the tire model works in this simulator, once you heat up your tires with a slide, you will be feeling the effects of that for at least another lap. And so when he skidded the tires coming out of 4, I think that kind of wrote in the book there what his turn 1 and 2 was going to look like. So an impressive save by the 53. I mean, we've seen drivers really fall victim to that inside wall, and he was just barely able to win. As we got 10 to go in this stage, and of course Robert Miller is still leading the way, and behind Robert, who has extended his lead to about 2.3 seconds, Bryson Nixon-Bott is under fire for second. Adam Benefiel is in P3. He's run him down, battling him for position, as well as Brandon Pierce. He's back there in the number 38 car, trying to make his presence known. But they don't have much time. I think these guys can definitely get around Bryson, as Bryson does move up the track, and he's going to let Adam Benefiel go on the low line. But the question now is, can Adam Benefiel make up this 2.5 second deficit that he has to the leader in just a short amount of laps?
And just to clarify there, Adam Benefiel being scored as 3 laps down after his black flag incident. That is Brandon Pierce that is going for the 3.1 second deficit on the leader. Adam Benefiel trying to get his laps back, and he may be able to do it here if he keeps up this pace, but with not that many laps left in the first stage, I don't know. That's 3 laps is definitely still a lot to overcome here at Dover, and who knows if he ends up more laps down. We don't know.
That is correct. I mean, I did forget about his penalty there, his drive-through that he had to serve, and he is 3 laps down. So yeah, that was not for position. I'm so used to seeing that 83 up there for position. I honestly didn't even take into account the penalty there. But yes, Brandon Pierce is in second, and he is currently trying to run down the leader. But again, he's got quite a ways to go, 2.4 seconds. So he is lapping faster than the leader, but with only about 5 laps to go in the stage as the leader crosses this time. It's going to be a tall order. I think right now, if you're Robert Miller, you're just trying to hit your marks, not overdrive the car, don't wreck it, don't do anything too crazy because he is only a few minutes away from a potential stage win. And the 10 car is behind them. Brandon Pierce does continue to close the gap. It was 2.5 last lap. This lap, 2.2. So he gained 0.3 of a second, but again, if he wants to get there within the remaining laps, he's going to have to pick up the pace just a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. And Brandon Pierce slowly whittling away on that lead on Robert Miller. I believe lap traffic having something to do with that. The driver that we we won't mention, we won't name, in front of Robert Miller, the leader there, on account of Andre's contractual obligations to not jinx certain people.
Yes, so there is a name in this league that I cannot speak. Not due to any ill will. Not due to any ill will. Not due to anything bad. Basically, though, he who won't be named is under the impression that every time I speak about him and we show him on camera, something bad happens. So we're just not going to say the name. I'm not even going to say the car number. I'm just going to say that it's somewhere on your screen right now, and maybe getting passed by the number 38 for another lap. And that is all I'm going to say as Bryson follows in tow behind Brandon Pierce. As we kind of follow along on our multicam. On the bottom left, that is your leader. And on the top right, that is second place. We got a spin right behind Bryson, and that's going to bring out the yellow flag. And as we were on lap 1, that'll be the stage. We were close enough to the end, I believe, that will be the stage end. So Robert Miller winning stage 1, and we do have a replay real quick. So that is Kyle in the number 20 car. Just a little bit of an overcorrection on the steering wheel, and then kind of panicked when he saw it was going up towards the wall, so he juked it back left, and oh my goodness! He who won't be named was nearly involved in that. As we were talking about him, I'm starting to believe in the curse now. I can't even deny this at this point. Oh my goodness!
And if you notice, Andre, it actually started in 1 and 2 there with the 20 car. Like you said, they slide those tires a bit. He got loose, slid them a bit, and the leader got past him, Robert Miller, and it just it took almost a whole lap. He felt those effects, and he got loose in 3 and 4 because of it. So definitely a chain reaction. As we go on board with he who shall not be named. Quite a mouthful there.
Just barely. Oh, and he did get into the wall, unfortunately. I gotta have a word with our producer, Carlos. I think we need to look into buying some stock footage that we can quickly just throw up on screen whenever a certain car happens to be in the frame, just to make sure that nothing bad happens. I mean, it could be like stock footage. Oh my goodness! Another near hit right there. But I mean, this stock footage could be puppies like in a basket. It could be some kittens running around. Just anything to make sure that what just happened does not happen again. So now they are making their way around the track under pacing, and we are going to have a word with our stage winner once he comes down to get his car serviced. Of course, we don't want to be talking to him while he's pitting. That would be, I would say, moderately distracting, to say the least.
Interesting to note, Adam Benefiel unlapping himself right before that stage end, so he will, I believe, be scored 2 laps down now.
It would appear that Robert Miller is staying out, so let's bring Robert Miller out of his DGR team chat and down here into the booth. Let's see if I can't get him down here. Robert Miller, you got a copy, bud?
Yeah, I got you.
Robert, it was a heck of a stage. I can only describe you as almost driving robotically out there, turning off these fast laps and doing it consistently. Some interesting strategy here. Looks like you stayed out. What's the strategy?
Just a number of cautions kind of played in the hand of having to stay out at least once through this whole first stage in order to save his set, because we're burning through 4 tires already, and we still got 300 laps to go. You kind of need to start strategizing that way.
Absolutely. A lot of drivers have talked so far about the tire conservation that we're going to have to really see out here because of the tire limits and things like that. Of course, tire limit, something that you are very familiar with after last week, but I feel like I don't even have to ask this question because your car looks so good out there, but how's it feeling, man?
Oh, it's feeling great. Dover's basically my favorite track on the service right next to Darlington. So I was very looking forward to this week. I'm ready to rock.
All right. Well, Robert, we're going to be going back to green really soon here, so we're going to get you back up in your team chat. But congratulations on your stage win, and hopefully we're talking to you next stage.
Thank you.
And that was your stage winner, Robert Miller, out of the booth as the lights go off in the pace car. It's going to be interesting. Definitely difficult to restart on these older tires, especially when you have so many drivers behind you. I'm sure that went ahead and took tires, but we do have some wave arounds. Cameron Stone, Adam Benefield, Dustin Hall, among others. So they're going to be going around to catch up to the tail end of the field, taking that wave around. And right now, through 3 and 4, we're going to, sorry, 1 and 2, we're going to see exactly how good is that number 10 on the old tires. Can he hold off the hard charging drivers from behind that do have fresh good years? Jonathan Delaney slowly has been working his way back up the grid after that incident early on, now starting on the outside of row 2 alongside Bryson Nixonbaugh. And now, finally, pace car is in 3 and 4. It's going to make that hard left turn. And when, I ask, does Robert Miller decide to go? We saw Robert go really early into the corner on fresh tires. And even on old tires, he gets a huge jump. I got to be honest, I expected him to wait a little while. It's easier to start on the straightaways with the Warren tires, but he got right out there. Huge lead, about 5-6 car lengths already over Bryson Nixonbaugh, who's currently being challenged by the 38.
I think with these guys on the fresher tires behind him, you almost can't afford to. It's like we saw at Darlington. You know, they got, no matter if you're on worn tires, if you're on fresh tires, you got to get that jump. You got to get that as big a lead as you can and kind of manage it here. And at Dover, I mean, when you got lap cars that you got to come up on really quick, you've got all kinds of stuff happening. As we have a guy on the inside wall, smack the inside wall there. I believe that was, not quite sure who that was.
Bingo Matthews once again, unfortunately, getting into that inside wall. So he was having a good run, like you mentioned, Ashton. He worked his way up into the top 10. And now I'm going to ask our producer to switch camera angles because there's somebody on the screen that does not want to be. And thank you, Carlos. As we're back to focusing on the 38. But yeah, that's unfortunate for the 99 because, like you said, he'd worked his way up towards the top 10, which is one of the better runs he's had so far this season. But Dover doesn't take prisoners, man. Sometimes that car just starts to get away from you like it did. And luckily he didn't get too much damage, I don't think. But doesn't seem to take much. I mean, we saw Kevin Steele with a little bit of front-end damage, and then later on learned that he had blown the engine due to the radiator. So,
and it's
gonna have to keep an eye on him.
Definitely interesting that both the NASCAR real life season and 100% Cup Series going to these two really tough tracks. You know, the Lady in Black and the Monster Mile right next to each other. I mean, quite a deadly duo of almost sounding like a couple of supervillains there from a comic book. You know, it's just two unforgiving tracks is what they could be described as we have, I believe, the one car on pit road.
Dustin Hall making his way down. I'm not sure if he has a potential penalty or if he's just getting some damage fixed up.
A lot of right front damage on that car, as we saw left front damage on the 99 that he accrued from that inside wall incident. But still running pretty strong laps here as he's in 14th and working on moving his way back up the field there.
We do have a battle for the lead going on right now. Bryson has caught up to the number 10, Robert Miller, and these guys have been bumper to bumper for the last few laps. And it seems like Bryson does have a little bit better short run speed than the number 10. It seems like his lap times are consistently better early in the runs, which is impressive given that he is in dirty air and the number 10 car has clean track in front of him. But as these laps wind down, that's when the 10 car comes to life. I mean, we saw it last week at Darlington with Robert Miller. It seems like he specializes in conserving his tires, specializes in that long run speed. And you can really tell it by the way he drives. He's not taking very aggressive lines, despite how fast he's driving and you know how fast his lap times are. The lines that he's taking are not aggressive. You can see him sort of drifting up the track and fading up towards the wall. He's doing that so he's not heating the tires up and not scuffing them up. Right in the middle of the corner, you can see he goes up about half a lane, comes back down. Just really incredible how consistently he's taken these corners and doing it in a way that is also conserving his equipment. And Bryson came across the radio and said, "Well, Robert, looks like I'm going to need a caution." And Robert said, "No, please." So Robert hoping that it stays green.
And it's actually a masterful arc here, and I'm noticing a pattern with that 10 car and Robert Miller. And it's like I said, you got to control the front here at Dover. You got to control from the lead, and we saw it when Cameron Stone caught him there on the previous stage. You know, it just seems like Robert Miller, he's running this line in a way that in the corners, these guys, you know, they catch up to him on the straights and going into the corners, and they just have nowhere to take that momentum, and he just kind of has them burn their stuff up, trying to get around them or waiting for an opening, an opportunity that he never lets present itself. And he's just doing a masterful job of just controlling that lead there. And as you see, Bryson is starting to fall back now and fade as the tires wear and kind of equal out here with Robert. And
on the screen, sorry there, Ash. On the screen is the number 65, Sean O'Brien Jr., who has kind of fallen his way back through the grid a little bit. He was running up in the top 5 at the end of the previous stage there. Currently, that number 65 is being scored in P6, so he is battling with Mason Lowry and John Delaney for position. And these guys have really been very close in pace, but now looks like we're starting to get a little bit of separation. Jonathan Delaney starting to pull away from Mason, and Mason pulling away from Sean O'Brien. But Sean, I tell you what, he's one of those drivers that he might not be the most consistent driver on the track, and he might not be the fastest, but he always seems to be able to put himself in really ideal situations. When he's able to stay out of trouble, he's able to just be there and make sure that his car is in position to capitalize on other people's mistakes or misfortunes. It's how he did so well last week at Darlington, and again, it's working out here. He's really impressed me so far this season. I mean, he came in, and nobody really knew, you know, anytime anybody new comes into the league, you never really know how they're going to perform. But it seems like 100%, the way they vet these drivers, you know, we always get these new drivers and they come out swinging. But Sean O'Brien, he came out swinging. He has been doing really great, and it looks like that momentum's carrying into this week. So we'll keep an eye on him, see if he can't break his way into the top 5. But on your screen, that is going to be Bryson Hickson-Baugh, who was kind of doing battle with some lap traffic. But now back to Sean O'Brien. We got a battle brewing for the top 5. Mason Lowry running a little bit of a higher line, and I think, Ashton, that 65 is just a little bit quicker through the center of the corner. So we got to see if he can do anything with that little bit of speed.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, it just all matters about where you catch him, and hopefully an opening presents itself and you can get around him in the right spot. Because like we saw with Bryson, who's now dropping back to 1.3 seconds behind Robert Miller. You know, if you can't make the passes and you use up your tires and your equipment here, it doesn't matter how fresh your tires are compared to the guy in front of you. It's just going to be hard to get around him at Dover because, you know, you don't want to risk it on the high side because, you know, that, like we said, that wall comes up quick, especially coming out of 2 there, and it may catch you unawares, and then you're going to have a guy mad at you that you're trying to make a clean pass on. So as he dives down in here underneath Mason Lowry, maybe Mason swinging wide to give him the spot, knowing he's faster, Sean O'Brien's going to be in the top 5 and working his way up to John Delaney, who's making another pass on a lap car as we speak.
There is so much lap traffic tonight. Again, this track being as short as it is, and we do have a rather large field tonight. We started with 30 cars. Now I believe 31 technically because of the addition of the number 8 car who missed gridding. Although we do have a few cars sitting up there. Roughly 30 cars on track as well. A little bit of near contact there with the number 4 and the number 16. But yeah, there's really nowhere to breathe. I mean, you're constantly in traffic, whether you are up front or in the back of the field. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be cars around you, and you just got to make sure that your reflexes are on point. As the number 16 stays high there, he's going to try and let Whitaker go there on the bottom.
Something to note, Kevin Steele did actually come back up off pit road. They got that car fixed up and ready to run again, and he's trying to salvage his points night as well. Definitely not wanting to call it a night after 2 weeks in a row of just getting taken out early in the first first laps of the first stage there, just unfortunate Kevin Steele, but he is back out there and trucking along.
Yeah, it took Kevin's team a little while to get that engine swapped out, but he is back out on the track. And, Kevin Steele, he's running another really interesting throwback there in that rainbow car. That's actually a throwback to one of my favorite drivers, Fringus McGuffin. He only ran one race in his entire NASCAR career. He won the one race that he ran. But afterwards, it was found out that Fringus actually was wanted by the feds for tax evasion, and he was arrested before the next event. He served his time in prison and then started a car dealership in Sturgeon, Wisconsin that specialized in PT Cruisers and PT Cruiser accessories. So Kevin Steele really throwing it back to good old Fringus McGuffin, one of my favorite drivers, and you just love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, a really short career, but just a swell guy. I unfortunately wasn't around for his time, but just a cool guy to learn about. Just Fringus McGuffin.
Absolutely, and he teaches you a lesson too. I mean, pay your taxes. Don't evade your taxes, because a flourishing NASCAR career could be ended. So pay your taxes. Don't start a PT Cruiser dealership. Not a good idea. But Kevin, he's going to be able to salvage some points tonight. I think right now he's being scored in P26. He's 63 laps down. Cameron Stone is the next car ahead, 41 laps down. But I mean, we're still early into this race. We're before the halfway mark, so if we get any more DNFs, that's some bonus points for the 24. Just a quick update on the front of the field. Looks like Robert Miller is maintaining his lead, in fact, extending his lead to 2 seconds over the number 63 Bryson Hickson-Bahu, who, again, I think what we're seeing here is just a different in setup. Robert Miller, again, so good at saving his tires, making sure he's got that long run speed, and Bryson relying on these short runs. So I gotta say, I think Bryson, if he built this setup for a short run, it was probably the safest bet, because it is Dover, and we do tend to see a lot of yellow flags here. But so far, Robert Miller has really benefited from the fact that this has been a relatively clean race here at the Monster Mile. I mean, we've seen some cars get into the wall. We've had some single car incidents, but when it comes to cautions for cause, it's been relatively tame.
Yeah, and I think we've had maybe I believe 6 cautions so far, something like that. Definitely a lot of cautions in the first stage. Hopefully it doesn't get crazier by the third stage, but these guys are going to get even more competitive as the race goes on. We have 13 cars on the lead lap so far, and Robert Miller making short work of quite a few of them as he is chasing down the 13th place driver, Preston McRae. I can't help but think a lot of these drivers like Adam Benefield, who's back to 2 laps down, they're gonna play a lot of trouble trying to be the car that gets the lucky dog or gets back on the lead lap here. Especially at a place like Dover, where it's not hard to catch the guys that aren't necessarily at the front of the field.
Absolutely, and again, it's a long race. I mean, 400 laps here. It is a long event. We are 154 laps into a 400-lap event. So even if some of these drivers are maybe not having the best night thus far, they got plenty of time to get things underneath them and get them figured out. So, like you said, fight for that lucky dog, see what you can do. Ryan McDaniel right now, of course, sitting in the lucky dog position with that Big Bill Matthews Steele back. Next car behind him is going to be Matthew Gaskins and Kyle Ammon. Those are the 2 drivers fighting for the lucky dog that are 1 lap down. But that list is going to continue to grow, because the leader, Robert Miller, is just putting people laps down like nobody's business. He is closing in on the 37 right now. 37, Jason S. Taylor, at which point he will be the lucky dog recipient. The next car ahead of him is Tyler Pimpsino, which is not that far ahead. So we got a lot of laps left in this stage, a lot of laps before anybody really considers pitting. I think we're going to get down to under 10 cars on the lead lap before this pit sequence, which really speaks to the speed that 10 car has right now.
Yep. Now we kind of saw this last week at Darlington. We had about, I think, before all was said and done, we had about 6 or 7 cars in the lead lap, and it just shows there's a lot of talent at the front of the field, and that's not to say that there's not a lot of talent at the back half of the field, but definitely just says a lot about Robert Miller up there at the front.
Absolutely, and I'm sure he came into this week absolutely hungry for a win. He led so much of the race last week, and then unfortunately running out of tires and falling victim to the tire limit and losing it that way had to be pretty upsetting and definitely motivating to come back this week and strike back even harder, which it seems like he definitely is. I mean, his lap times are still really, really impressive. 2 seconds ahead of Bryson Dixon-Baugh, 3 seconds ahead of Brandon Pierce, and about 4 seconds ahead of 4th place Jonathan Delaney, who, hey, John is able to avoid 3rd place so far, but he is closing in on Brandon Pierce, so we'll see if he finds himself in his favorite position before the end of the night. And you'd mentioned there, Ashton, Sean O'Brien also made his way into the top 5. He has currently scored about 1 second behind Delaney, so 5 seconds behind the leader total. So about a second between each car up here in the top 5 or top 6, roughly. So now, Ashton, I think we're finally starting to see that separation that I think we expected a lot earlier on in the race.
Yeah, and I gotta say, young John Delaney there, moving his way up. I believe he's in 4th right now, and he's working on catching at least the top 2. I don't know if he may have anything for Robert Miller. That remains to be seen. But we kind of didn't give him or Cam much attention last week at Darlington like we should have, and then turns out they were just kind of holding back. So it's gonna be interesting to see if maybe young John Delaney or somebody that we haven't maybe talked that much about has something for our leaders as we get well into stage 2 here. And I gotta think we gotta be starting pit sequences soon if we stay green here.
Definitely. With the stage going green on about lap 123, I believe, we are currently about 40 laps into this run, which maybe a little bit early. I think these guys will probably stay up for about another 10, 15 laps, depending on what kind of strategy they're going to pull. According to the sticky note that the admins have left on the door of the 3Wide TV booth, the stage 2 length is going to be lap 240. So the exact same distance as stage 1, 120 laps total. And I think we're going to see a lot of these guys split it in half, more than likely. They're going to come in somewhere around lap 180. So if somebody wants to pull off a short stop strategy, they could gain some time. But I tell you what, this is one of the few tracks, Ashton, where I'm going to say I don't think the short stop is the way to go. The tires are too important here to really sacrifice that time later on.
And Dover is such a hard track to really make the short stop work. You just gotta hit it absolutely perfect. You can't be too early, you can't be too late. And I know that goes for a lot of tracks, but Dover, it's just, especially at these shorter tracks like this, it is so easy. As we saw, Adam Benefield had to do a pass-through penalty. You know, he didn't even pit and take that extra time, but just the pass-through cost him 3 laps. So if you mess up that short stop, you are trying to overcome insurmountable odds and just praying for everything to go your way. And I think there's too many variables, especially tonight, what we've seen so far to make that work. You're absolutely right, Andre.
And as if he had the broadcast open and he just wanted to make me incorrect, Preston McRae came down pit road 15 laps before halfway. So not sure if he's just really dedicated to this short stop strategy or if perhaps he had some damage he wanted to get fixed up. But he did come down pretty early. Definitely the first car, I would say, to officially start the pit sequence. And since he came down pit road, I could be wrong, but I don't believe anybody has joined him yet in the list of drivers to make that hard left turn. Right now, everybody continuing to turn their laps. And the gaps between the top 5 continuing to... well, I was going to say they're continuing to grow, but now looking at the timing and scoring, Bryson is 1.5 behind Robert Miller, so he's closed in by about half a tenth. And we actually have a battle, a very close battle, for P3 between John Delaney and Brandon Pierce. Those two are only 3 tenths apart.
Yeah, and it's not going to be long before young John Delaney is right there on the back bumper of Brandon Pierce. He's just ticking away at that timing and scoring there. And I believe the next bit of lap traffic here, we may see one of these drivers using lap car as a pick and trying to get around the other. As we see just a car that's not on the lead lap. They're both passing him. Doesn't matter who it is.
Yep, it's just a car. He's in the lead.
They're both making the pass. Nothing out of the ordinary there.
Nope.
Gorgeous
As we-
grease this car again for young John Delaney there, by the
Yeah,
way.
and hey, look at that number 2. That's pretty nice scheme too. As long as it's not, as long as it's not the car that will not be shown, because we don't want to cause any incidents. Tyler Pinsino, of course, he was fighting for the lucky dog position, but he has fallen a bit further back, and currently, I think the lucky dog is Matthew Gaskins with Chad Sanner in front of him. But the pit sequence, I think, is starting to kick off a little bit more now. I'm noticing that the timing and scoring is shuffling around a little bit more here and there. So some drivers having already made their way down pit road. I think Bryce Hoffman is among them. Possibly Michael Whitaker. I'm not entirely sure if he's made his way down pit road, but okay, Carlos. Carlos, what are we doing, Carlos? Why are we showing this? Why you gotta? Okay, yeah, we just move the camera. We don't. Damaris. Oh, crap! I said. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did not. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I thought that was the other car wrecking there. Luckily, it wasn't. But Cam pile driving into that 58. I think he was going for the home run there. We'll have to take a look at the replay. But a lot of damage to the rear end of the 58 as they got collected there. And here you can see coming through turns 1 and 2, you got Bingo Matthews on the high side. Just a little bit of net code there, spinning him around. Nothing the 58 could have done. And then unfortunately, a bad day got worse when Cameron Stone sailed it in and just gave him a little bit of friendly tap there, Ashton.
And I gotta think, even as slow as Cameron came up to his back end and smacked into him, I gotta think that car. I'd be amazed to see the 57 continue and be on pace here without blowing an engine, because it's gonna be dangerous for that car. But definitely a heavy net code issue for our drivers there, and just unfortunate for everybody involved.
That was a lot of net code. I mean, he was a good 1.5 foot clear, and it still made contact. So really unfortunate the way that happened. And man, you hate to see that, because that is genuinely a situation where neither of those drivers did anything wrong. The 99, Ryan McDaniel, aka Bingo Matthews, he was clear, and as was the 58. They were both holding their lines, doing what they need to do. And it just so happened that the simulator said, absolutely not. We're going to make contact. And as everybody makes their way down pit road, I think this was perfectly timed, Ashton, because this is about halfway through the stage. We know everybody's good to go to the end. This is when people were going to want to take tires anyhow. But, and this is the big but, Ashton, Brandon Pierce has stayed out. He decided to take the track position. And that is going to be an interesting call. Does he come down pit road this time?
That's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see what he does here. I wouldn't think it'd be beneficial for him to stay out, run a little bit, and then either hope for a caution or pit halfway to the end, or in however many laps he's got left. But it's not looking like he's gonna dive down yet. But as we come up to the turn 3 here.
So Brandon Pierce is going to make his way down pit road. He joined pit road with the lappers. I'm not sure if he was actually scored a lap down or not. He may have been. Actually, let me scroll through the timing and scoring. No, he was indeed the leader. So I don't know why he stayed out an extra lap. Maybe just trying to lead a lap. I don't know. Very strange call. But regardless, Bryson Nixonbaugh is going to lead the way. He got around the number 10 car, Robert Miller, in that pit sequence. So Ashton, this is the first time since the drop of the green initially that we've seen the 63 in clean air. I'm curious to see what he can do with it.
Yep, it's going to be interesting to see if what changes that team has made here, just in the past couple stages. Watching Robert Miller lead the way, so it's gonna be nice to see that knee-high septic Hugger Oranges number 63 take the restart here with Robert Miller alongside. Sorry, not alongside, but right behind him.
A lot of cars ahead of our leaders preparing to take the wave around to try to get one last lap, including Adam Benefiel, who right now, before taking his wave around, is currently being scored. If I can locate him, 17th, 2 laps down. So this wave around will put him 1 lap down. If he can keep pace with the leaders and keep that 1 lap down position, he may have a shot here of getting into the lucky dog position. But we are 1 to green. The lights are off on the pace car as we round turns 1 and 2. And it's going to be one heck of a restart action because, like I said, we've not seen Bryson in the clean air as the control car since the very first lap. And like you said, he's probably made some changes. I would assume he's probably tried to do some things to get a little bit more long run speed out of the car after having seen how important it is, as he actually has a little bit of lag issues there. The 63 disappeared. But we got Sean O'Brien Jr. and John Delaney on row 2. So again, 2 very strong cars back there. Chad Edwards and Mason Lowry behind them for row 3. And now, here we go. The pace car driver is going to move it on over. 63 is left to the side when to go, and he goes immediately.
Didn't even get it out of your mouth there, and there he goes.
That was borderline. I feel like he just about passed the pace car with that one.
And we see the number 9 Reese's car wasting no time either, as trying to get on the back bumper of Robert Miller here and make a move early.
Yeah, he got a great start. He was able to get out ahead of the number 65, Sean O'Brien Jr. And now he is on the bumper of that number 10. And of course, we know Robert Miller is a little bit better in the long runs than the short runs. So I think if John wants to strike, this is going to be his chance. He's going to have to try to make something happen quickly. And all the while, you know, these guys are battling it out, and Bryson is just extending that lead up there.
Oh, so we have a car in the wall.
No!
Wreck in the back.
And Fringus McGuffin in the 24, a.k.a. Kevin Steele, involved. Dalton Mobley hard into the inside wall. He actually got stuck in the inside safety barrier. That was at least 5 cars, actually.
The 6 of the tracker, the number 6 tracker car of Chad Sander looked like just got loose there coming out of 2. Just smack the outside wall, nowhere to go.
Oh! And the 77. I mean, look at this replay again. Keep your eye on that 77, Dalton Mobley. He takes a wallop of a hit. I mean,
a lot of cars
absolutely.
That is going to end a lot of guys' nights.
Ah, what a hit. And that's just a bad night to worse to even worse for Kevin Steele, number 24. He blew the engine earlier in the race. He came back out, scored, I believe, 40 or 50 laps down, roughly.
Bryce Hoffman in the 21 there also got a blown engine, leaking a little bit on track there as the 6 car had the least amount of damage after slamming the outside wall there, but he's also in. And I just really, I can't say that's anybody's fault there. I think it's just, you know, a racing incident. The 6 car just, I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. He just coming out of the corner and it just got away from him. You're even seeing Robert Miller up in 2nd place. Coming out of the corners, his back end was kicking out a little bit as well. So it was just absolutely nothing that could have been done differently there. It was just these restarts are going to be like that all night. Everybody's going to be holding their breath, hoping they make it the first 5 laps, because honestly, no one is safe.
Yeah.
And like our producer Carlos said, Miles is hungry, and his hunger is unsatiable. I mean, you know, you thought Darlington was just all out, you know, claiming victims left and right, but Dover's a different beast altogether.
Yeah. We do have a driver in the infield care center, Adam Benefiel, driver of the 83. So let's go ahead and run down there and pick him up. Adam Benefiel, you got a copy, bud?
Yes, sir.
Adam, you had a strong car to start the night, but things went from bad to worse. A lot of it out of your hands. Walk me through your night.
Hang on one second. Let me fix my mic.
Alrighty. No problemo.
Man, we had a really good car. We was just riding there at the beginning, and long run speed was just next level. I mean, the car was just so good, really good. And I don't know, two guys stayed out, and they spun their tires, and I checked up, and I didn't want to get ran over from behind, and there was a hole, so I went for it and got black flagged. So I don't know. I think in real life they actually have a rule where you can move lanes or pass if you're trying to avoid from causing a wreck or something like that, but it's not like that in here, so we had to pit and got trap laps down, and yeah, it was just bad luck, man. The deal down happened right there down the back straightaway. I just couldn't see through the smoke. I went low. I don't know why. Banking, they're gonna slide low, and I just drove straight into a guy, so it was dumb.
That is really unfortunate. Like I said, you had a strong car, and it's always frustrating to see races like that where, you know, you see so many misfortunate things that just are out of your hands. I mean, it just keeps happening over and over. What's the damage situation, Adam? Is it terminal? You're gonna be able to get back out there?
No, we're done. We're done.
Yeah, that's hate to hear it. Luckily, being locked into the playoffs, you can afford a bad week here and there, and again, you don't tend to have too many of those, Adam. So uh, hopefully, you can get back into proper form like we know you in the next couple weeks here. And Team Conti recently made a pretty good acquisition. You guys picked up Brandon Pierce, so I think that's going to help you guys bring some momentum as well. And it's going to be fun to watch how your team progresses through the season.
Yeah, maybe he can get his Callaway Chevrolet up there to the front. He's sitting sixth right now. He's got a pretty good piece, so we'll see what happens.
All right, well, Adam, thanks for your time, and again, we're sorry to see your race end that way, man. That was Adam Benefield out of the booth, and the green flag has flown, Ashton. We got the number 6.
Whoa! We have a car already on the apron there in 1 and 2.
Ooh, Brandon Pierce.
Brandon Pearson, he manages to save it. I think a little bit of a jinx in there by his teammate, but put all that pressure on him. But he gathers it up. No harm, no foul, and we're gonna keep going here as Bryson out to a healthy almost half a second lead with John Delaney back on the heels of Robert Miller there, and I can't help but wonder if maybe Robert Miller it's driving a little differently for him here now that he's kind of in traffic, kind of trying to struggle to get back up to the lead. Maybe he's just biding his time and waiting for Bryson to wear it out here.
Absolutely. And on the top right of your screen there, when we did our 3-wide TV multicam, you could see exactly what happened with Brandon Pierce. He got a little bit of help. He was kind of coming down the track. The number 4, Chad Edwards, was coming up. And they just kind of went for the same real estate. The number 38 spun down towards the apron, and a really fantastic stage. You could see how sideways he got, and still he was able to get that thing brought around. Which, let me tell you, when half your car is on the racing surface and half the car is on the apron, where it's banked, and you're scraping that splitter and that rear track bar, and you can still save it, that is a little bit of luck and a lot of bit of talent. So
I gotta tell you, they definitely made a good acquisition there in Brandon Pierce for Team Conti. Definitely showcasing his talent both on and technically off the track there down on the apron.
Absolutely, it was a great save, and now because of that, he's going to be still in the show. He's got a chance to get back up there, make some overtakes, and I mean that 38 has done so much passing tonight. I would not be surprised to see him work his way back up to the field. And on your screen right now, we do have a bit of a battle. That is Preston McRae and Dustin Hall. They're kind of side by side. They're in front of the car that shall not be named. Hopefully they get away from him so that he doesn't have to spend too much time on camera and we don't give him the commentator's curse. Preston's going to go down a little bit, and just a lot of traffic back here. A lot of battling these guys are having to deal with. And like you said, Ashton, these restarts are frantic. I mean, you got cars everywhere. Up high, down low, 2 wide, 3 wide. Now it looks like almost 3 wide for a minute there. But man, just an absolutely chaotic restart so far. And we've been green for a few laps now.
Yep, absolutely. And I gotta say, I love that Pepsi scheme of the number 53 car, and I believe that is a throwback to Cranges McBasketball. He was a driver for only half a season before he decided to work overseas as an alpaca farmer. And I mean, I gotta say that's quite a reach there, like quite a throwback. To pay tribute to that driver. He lived hard and fast and was a great driver.
How does an alpaca farmer live hard and fast?
Uh,
What is hectic about that lifestyle?
it was quite a polarity change for him to go from these race cars and doing really well for only half a NASCAR season, and then going to I believe it was Nepal that he moved to.
What was he farming from the alpacas? Was he going for the milk? Was he going for the fur? I mean,
a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. Just a fantastic driver. Francis McBasketball. We don't talk about him enough in the history books.
I mean, I feel like his parents they had a different idea for him when they gave him his name, and he just kind of disappointed them by not doing basketball and instead getting into motorsports. That's maybe why he left to go farm the alpacas. Just out of shame.
Believe it or not, he was MVP on his high school soccer team. Fun little tidbit there.
Well, I'm sure his parents were just devastated. I mean, imagine going out of your way to name your child something, and they continually spit in the face of your wishes. Honestly, that's just disappointing. And I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of that driver. I think he was just a disappointment to his parents. I can't agree with that. But what I can agree with is that Bryson has a massive lead right now, and it seems like that short run speed that he has is definitely being beneficial with the caution that we had there. He's kind of able to use these yellow flags to his advantage. But we stay green much longer, and that is where we're going to see Robert Miller start to come to life, as he actually already is. He actually closed in about 2/10 that last lap. So 22.970 for Robert Miller and a 23.2. So actually 3/10 for Robert Miller last time around. He's really starting to come to life now.
Yep, and like I said, just not even 10 laps earlier, you got to wonder if maybe he was this whole time just kind of hanging back a little bit, letting Bryson get that healthy lead, let him wear out those tires, because it just seems like between Bryson and Robert, Robert's just better at managing, as you see him up a lane again, trying to keep the tires from getting too hot, and you see Bryson just hugging the apron for dear life around most of the corner. It just different driving styles between the two, and different ways of managing their equipment. As you see, Robert Miller skipped the wall a little bit, a little bit ahead of himself there, going down to 2. It's just didn't seem to slow him down at all. In fact, it seemed like he gained a little bit there in the next couple corners. So
that's how fast Robert Miller is. I mean, he hit the wall, and he still closed in that lap. So he is absolutely on the move right now, and I am. It's going to be a battle. I'll tell you what, Ashton, how about we get a good view of this battle? Let's go on board with Robert Miller, and we throw it to a Shano FX overdrive for this battle for the lead. And we are back from our Shino FX Overdrive. The battle for the lead continues. Robert Miller in that number 10 car right on the bumper of the leader, but not quite able to make the move yet as they come down the back straightaway there.
See, almost catch the wall again. It's just that car is kicking out, and I can't help but think maybe it's because he's behind Bryson, or maybe he made a few changes to it to handle better in traffic. But hopefully his car runs a little bit better than that once he gets out in front of the 63, because I believe it's not a matter of if, but when at this point.
Yeah, I think that dirty air is definitely playing a factor in there. I think you're right, Ashton. Anytime you get up behind somebody at any track, your car is going to start to get a little bit tighter, start to feel a little bit worse. But at a track like Dover, where the car is already fighting you so much, that dirty air is just an absolute monster to deal with, no pun intended. So the number 10, the fact that he's skipping the wall now, plus you got to think, Robert Miller has spent, I would say, like 90% of this race so far out front. So not as much experience driving in dirty air tonight as maybe Bryson had. So still getting used to how the car feels, still getting adjusted to changes, and I'm sure he's probably not going to change anything on that car. He's probably just waiting in the wings, waiting to see if his car is going to come to life on this long run like it tends to do. We do have 30 laps to go in the stage when we cross the line this time. So this run is winding down. Bryson's tires are going to start to wear. And if the last couple of stints that we've seen are anything to go off of, that 10 car is going to come to life real quick.
Yep, absolutely. As we see Bryson go for a quick move here on Cameron Stone, trying to get a little bit of a gap going again, but I don't think it's going to work out for him. Got to note, young John Delaney definitely pulling up quick. Sean O'Brien, I mean, you can't help but think that if this turns into a three-way battle for the lead with lap traffic and everything, Sean O'Brien will be there as well before you know it. How about Mason Lowry there in the top 5 for, I believe, one of the first times tonight, and going pretty strong there. Got to say that 56 team has figured something out here at Dover, and holding strong as we see Brandon Pierce back up to 7th place from that recovery earlier on the restart. From dropped to 9th, back up to 7th. Definitely got some heavy hitters here tonight, and I don't think it's just going to be between the 63 and the 10. I believe we've got quite a few drivers throughout the field that are either dark horses in this race, or they're poised and ready.
Hey, I mean, we're just beyond the halfway mark, and so we got a lot of racing left in this event. And of course, like you said, it's really anybody's game. Right now, nothing's locked down. Bryson is out here leading the race. We've seen the 10 car lead so much of the race, but any of these drivers could make some pit road adjustments, find just that little bit of an advantage that they need. Could have cautions come out that shuffle up the order. Any number of things could still happen. I mean, right now, nothing is set in stone, so we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out as we get ever so close to the end of this stage. On your screen right there, that is Ryan Samuelson, who's had a bit of a troublesome night. He has been involved in a number of incidents, including spinning the tires a little bit there on one of the restarts. And he has been working through it all right now. He is currently being scored, if I can locate him in the permanent scoring, as 15th. He is currently 3 laps down. Right now, there are no cars 1 lap down. The first car a lap down is 2 laps down. That's Ryan McDaniel in the Bingo Matthews throwback. Preston McRae behind him in the number 53 is 2 laps down, and then Ryan Samuelson is the only car 2 laps down. Jameson Pearson 4 laps down behind him. So it's been an uphill battle for Ryan Samuelson. He's one of the drivers that I talked about quite a bit in the previous races, because there was a stint in this season as, whoa, my goodness, nearly 3 wide there with Michael Whitaker. But there was a stint earlier in the season there where Samuelson was really starting to come to life, and he was getting some good finishes consecutively. And he's in a bit of a slump right now, but I know that talent is there. I know the ability is there. And I think if he can continue to push through this night, maybe a few cautions, get back up on the lead lap, he's going to be able to get a good result tonight. But do have, finally, a battle for second action. It looks like Jonathan Delaney has finally made his way to the bumper of the number 10. Speaking of Jonathan Delaney, it looks like I didn't know this. This is info fed to me from the producer. But the number 9 is actually a throwback to when Willie Mays Hayes left the Cleveland Indians to be a NASCAR owner following the 1989 season, which saw them win the division title by beating the New York Yankees in a one-game playoff, but were swept by the ALCS, swept in the ALCS by Chicago White Sox. He earned enough money to start, he earned enough money with his Capital One commercials to form a NASCAR team sponsored by Reese's. And while unsuccessful, they did earn 5 top 5s and 10 top 10s in the span of 5 years. His team became popular after it was revealed that the Indians faked his identity for the next season to capitalize on his popularity. They were sued the following season and put out of business. But Jonathan Delaney with a fascinating throwback.
As we have, oh, Rick, right in front of the 9.
No! Willie Mays Hayes goes around. What a...
You heard him on the radio saying, check up, as he tried to miss the
It's like a little bit of contact with the 22 from Damaris, and then the 53 getting a little bit of him as well. And the 22 just fishtailing it, trying to gather it up. Comes to a skidding halt there. And Jonathan Delaney coming around the corner, kind of a blind spot there, the A pillar on his left, kind of preventing him from being able to see exactly what happened here.
Not a terrible wreck. Just kind of clipped the inside wall there with the left quarter, the left rear quarter, and I think they could pull a little bit of that damage out. And I think with it only being rear end damage on this car, I think it shouldn't handle too terrible for him. And I think he's still got a fast race car there. Just a little bit of flat spotted tires and a little bit of hurt pride in that one for the number 9.
Yeah, a little bit. He did tap the inside wall with his left rear quarter panel, but again, I didn't really see much body definition there, so I would imagine he's probably going to be all right. And as the leaders make their way down pit road, we're going to go ahead and see where they all cycle out. But we're going to throw it to a short break, and we will bring it back at the drop of the green for the rest of the action here at Dover for the Throwback Drip 400. And we are back at Dover International Raceway for the running of the Throwback Drip 400 for the 100% Cup Series. The lights are off on the pace car, and we got a couple of cars going around to get their wave around. In the front row this time, well, it's going to consist of a familiar face of the top 5, Sean O'Brien Jr. and Jason S. Taylor now for the first time on the front row. That's going to be interesting. But the cars that have taken tires are Bryson Hixenbaugh and Robert Miller. So the cars in front of them are on older tires. It's going to be interesting to see if they can get around them. We do have a driver in the infield care center that we'll get to here shortly after the restart in a couple laps. But for now, all eyes are going to be on the front of the field here to see how do these drivers, Sean O'Brien Jr. and Jason S. Taylor, handle these older tires, because we know from what we saw with Robert Miller earlier in the race that these old tires, they can definitely come back to bite you, especially this late into the run as the pace car makes that left-hand turn. Where does Sean O'Brien start the field? He's going to wait it out. There he goes, just at the exit of the corner. A really good jump from that 65 machine for being on worn tires. And Bryson wasting no time to get around 37 with the 10 car in tow. So up into second place goes Bryson Hixenbaugh.
See the 37 dropping back really hard there, actually holding up Brandon Pierce a little bit there. Just not what the Black Flag Motorsports drivers on the front row were hoping for on this restart, as they drop back and fade pretty quick.
Oh no, Jonathan Delaney around. What a save, though. What a save. Get over the replay here, identify exactly what happened. Jonathan Delaney on the outside, Jason S. Taylor in front of him. So
But 37 just dropping back in the 9.
Ooh, a little bit of contact there.
Looking like the 37 was still slow up high. John Delaney coming out of forward. Just had nowhere to go with the 79 down low. 79 was coming up and the 9 was coming down, and they just caught doors. Got a little bit loose there. Definitely a good save by the 9. I know he's been trying to manage fixing an interesting strategy jumping down pit road, trying to get a little bit of that damage pulled out in that rear end and not go a lap down. So hopefully not
the 79
just after that.
Yeah, the 79, I don't think he knew it was 3 wide. I think he thought Delaney had a little bit more room to go up. He didn't.
Matthew Gaskins, the driver of that 79, just probably trying to get himself set up to enter the corner and arc it in, and just didn't realize the 9 was trying to avoid a really off-pace car there up high.
Absolutely. Yeah, I tell you what, we got a driver in the infield care center, Jamison Pearson. We're going to bring him in. He was involved in the incident prior to this. Jamison Pearson, you got a copy? Pearson.
I think so. You guys got me?
Yep, we got you. So, man, it looked like it was a rough race out there. The car just seemed to be really fighting you at every step, and you were doing a good job powering through it, but then looked like a little bit of contact with the 09 was what kind of finally did it in. Walk me through what happened.
Say that again.
I was saying, it looked like you were really doing a good job fighting through a bit of an ill-handling car all night long, and then unfortunately, a little bit of contact with the 09 there is kind of what did you in. Walk me through what happened. Possible technical difficulties here. Appreciate the patience from the viewers at home. Pearson, you still got a copy, bud? Jamison Pearson, you got a copy? All right, sounds like we're having a little bit of issues with Jamison Pearson, so we're going to put him back in the waiting room, and we're going to get ready to get back green, as lights are still on the pace car, so we're going to bring him around again. In front row this time, it is going to consist of Bryson Hixenbaugh and Robert Miller, finally able to get back out front after taking those tires. So it's going to be another battle between these two, I'm sure. I'll tell you what, Ashton, seems like Bryson and Robert just can't seem to get away from each other tonight.
Yep, definitely not. Those teammates really just working on those cars, trying to lean on each other here, trying to figure out who's doing what to their cars, and trying to counter that as they try to get the upper hand here. As we are, I believe Bryson pointed out, we are more than halfway through the race. We definitely are at lap 230 here. I believe we're only going to have about 9 or 10 to go as we come to the line here, come to the green. Pace car is going to go back down pit road, and we're going to take off on this next lap. And I gotta say, Mason Lowry in third place there. Definitely right place, right time. Moving his way up. Brandon Pierce in fifth. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens on this restart.
Yeah, these restarts have been definitely eventful, to say the least. I mean, I think that's the first time we've really had a caution immediately breed another caution. We've usually got at least a few laps under our belt there, and that was very instantaneous. And I think that's just a product of maybe some frayed nerves, maybe a little bit of patience starting to fade away. Whatever machinations lie behind the scenes, I think these drivers are starting to kind of lose their patience a bit. We are getting a little bit further into this event, and with all the cautions we've had, these drivers just haven't had the opportunity to really get in the groove, I would say. So every one of these restarts, man, it's a whole new process of just trying to get a feel for the car, get back into the swing of things, and hopefully drivers can be able to do that right now as base car is about to pull out. 63 on the bottom lane. Where does he start him as the control car? We've seen Bryson get that early jump so many times, and he tries it right there, but doesn't get the jump that he might have because he spun the tires and had to lift. So what would have been a nearly 6-car length lead deteriorated down to about 1 car length. Robert Miller able to capitalize on that wheel spin and stick right with the 63. The question is, how much can the 63 use his short run speed to get an advantage here? Towards the end of the stage, we are at 7-8 to go.
And we have a car spinning in 3 and 4. I think he saved it.
No caution yet.
Looking like the target machine of
it'll be the number 19, Alex Brinson.
Yeah, and definitely a good save. He is on pit road now. Just car not handling like it should. That is a sharp scheme, by the way, and just unfortunate. He was in the top 10 most of the night, and just like you said, drivers with frayed nerves. They've been running this track. You know, you get in a rhythm, and I mean, like you said, Andre, with all these cautions, that's gotta chop up, and it just drives a big wedge into that rhythm you've been running. You can't really build a rhythm and keep it going.
Absolutely. They were lucky to not get a caution there, and not lucky for Alex Brinson. I'm sure would have preferred that to have been a yellow. Towards the front of the field, we've got Mason Lowry doing his best to try to take away P2 late in this stage from Robert Miller. The 56 machine has seemingly just been getting faster all night long. I mean, it seems like Mason really is liking Dover. You mentioned earlier, Ashton, he's having one of the better runs he's had this year, and I'm inclined to agree. He's been top 5 all night long, and now to be able to rival Robert Miller on this short run is nothing short of impressive, as now Robert Miller slides up a little bit middle of the corner. That's going to allow the 56 to close the gap even more. As on your screen, that's there. Okay, there's the battle right there. As we come through the corner again, what you're going to notice is the 56 closes in the center of the corner, but then coming out. Whoa, big loose. Mason Lowry sliding his tires in front of his teammate, and causing him to check up. Now trying to close the gap back up to the number 10, getting the time back that he lost. It's lap 2:38 at the line, and this battle not going anywhere.
He's looking to the inside of Robert Miller now. Robert Miller really close to that outside wall, and I gotta wonder how he hasn't just completely destroyed the right side of that race car yet. Just pit road is closed as we go. I believe 2 laps to go here.
2 to go. Stage is going to be at the completion of lap 240. So not when they come to take 240 this time, but rather once 10 cars have completed the 240th lap of this event. That is when the admins will throw the caution, at which point stage points will be awarded. But the leader is going to cross the line for the R Publix Chicken Tender Subs on sale.com white flag of the stage. And he has a comfortable lead right now, 1.3 seconds. No battles for the leader, a battle behind him for second place. And as Bryson Nixonville rounds the final 2 corners of the stage, he's going to take the stage win without question. Behind them, Mason Lowry coming up just a little bit short. Robert Miller second in the stage. Final rundown of the positions in that stage as caution has come out for cause. That was actually not the stage caution. It appears we had a wreck that was conveniently timed. We're going to take a look at the replay, see exactly what happened. Looks like Michael Whitaker in that number 58 machine, and something happening in front of him. Alex Princeton again. Oh, no. 2 incidents for Alex Princeton in just a short handful of laps, and then Michael Whitaker trying to avoid him loses control of his machine, getting into the outside wall. So, man, whatever's going on with that 19 car, it's not. He is not liking it. It's not handling very well for him. And unfortunately, Dustin Hall just bodied into that inside wall, just thrown into it like a sack of bricks. That was a hit. I gotta wonder how much damage he's got, but we're gonna go ahead and see what happens on these pit sequences once the pit sequences are complete. We're gonna try and bring Bryson in for a interview, but until then, let's see. No pitting from the stage winner. I'm a little confused by that, Ashton. I'll tell you what, let's ask him himself about that decision as we move him into the booth. Bryson Nixonbaugh, you got a copy?
Yeah, I gotcha.
So tell us about that decision you just made, not to pit.
I may or may not be on pace to run out of tires in like 100 laps.
Okay. So I gotta ask, you won the stage, the car's looking pretty good, but what's the strategy gonna be going forward if you gotta conserve tires? How do you plan to go about that?
Hope there's not a bunch of cautions that give me the opportunity to take tires here. The tire fall off is so bad that if you go 20 laps on a run, you got to come in and take tires, or you're going to just get eaten alive. And right there, that was about probably 10 on tires. And the guys who pit here, they're going to blow right by us. No question about it. But it's just not worth it with the amount of sets of tires I got left. I don't have the fuel to make this one stop in the stage, but I wasn't planning on that anyways. I don't know what's going to be faster or not, but I don't think my tires could handle a full fuel run, so I'm just going to hopefully go about 50 or 60 laps here and then come in and pit. Hope the caution doesn't come out when I pit and hold on to it.
Absolutely. Well, looks like the lights are about to go off on the pace car, so we're going to get you back into your team, Chad. But Bryson, good luck. Hopefully your strategy works out, and congratulations on your stage win.
Thanks, guys. Hope to talk to you later.
Absolutely. Stage winner Bryson Nixonbaugh out of the booth. And tell you what, Ashton, what are your thoughts on this tire situation? Because it really seems to be the defining factor, the one thing that none of these drivers can seem to get away from. And it's the one thing that is on all of their minds right now.
Yep, and you saw a lot of these guys like Bryson. They got mired maybe about top 10 or farther back, and they just sitting there trying to get the track position, get back up into a good spot in the field, and also get these stage points and stage. I mean, Bryson got the stage win here on these tires, and it's like, I mean, you heard it. He definitely he doesn't sound like the Bryson we know, where he's a little shaken up. Miles the Monster maybe getting to him here, getting in his head. And I mean, when you're sitting there panicking, trying to figure out your tire strategy with, I mean, talking about running out in 100 laps, running out of tire sets, that we've got about 150 to go, close to it, 155 or so. You're running out of time, and you don't want to be running out of tires with that many laps left.
Absolutely, and it's interesting to see that these last 2 races have kind of been so heavily determined by these tire limits, because we've had these tire limits in place. I mean, this has been a rule since Daytona, and it's played a factor for some drivers, depending on how their nights went, but it has never been the absolute determining factor of the race like it has been these last 2 weeks. And I think it really comes down to just how rough these tracks are. Darlington and Dover are both fairly notorious for eating up tires. I mean, anytime a track is slick, anytime you're sliding around a lot, you're going to be scuffing those tires away. and that is what we've seen tonight. So I thought 10 tire sets was being pretty generous. I mean, given that they were probably going to make 6 or 7 stops, I thought, man, you got a few sets of spares. But just with the amount of cautions we've had, like Bryson said, a lot of opportunities to take tires, and I don't think any of these drivers want to pass up those opportunities, even if they know that the tires are not in high supply. So Bryson Nixon-Bog getting a good jump that time, no wheel spin. He did say the cars behind him that took tires, they're going to blow by them. So we're going to have to see, Ashton, how soon does it happen?
Yep, definitely not anytime soon yet, as we see he gets back on the loud pedal pretty quick there, him and Robert Miller, and they are just trying to maintain as much of a lead as they can off the main pack. Jonathan Delaney, I believe, on fresh tires there, definitely making a run on the 20 car machine there, and Mason Lowry just kind of sitting back there. He hasn't really moved forward on those guys up front on the fresh tires. As you see, 37 of Jason Taylor getting the inside wall there and keep going. A little bit loose on exit of 2. Yeah, it doesn't seem like these worn tires are affecting them yet, and I think that's what they were hoping to see. They want to see that they can still maintain a decent. They have enough pace to maintain a decent enough lead on the worn tires that they don't drop like a rock, like we saw the two motorsports guys of Jason Taylor and Sean O'Brien. They just had a restart that just saw them not even make a lap before they were passed up by all the fresh tires out here at Dover, and they just maybe didn't have as much pace as our top two there to make those tires work. But here we are. They're about 3 or 4 laps into this run, and they're battling for the lead again. You gotta wonder, what do they have that these other guys don't, even on fresh tires?
Well, these guys are battling, but again, they are on old tires, and one driver who's sitting pretty right now is Jonathan Delaney, because according to my calculations, I believe he pitted. He's on fresh tires. He's catching up to these guys in a hurry. And additionally, I think, given we're on lap 250, he's got about 150 more laps to go. He's probably going to have to two-stop it, but he's still in a better tire and fuel situation than anybody else ahead of him right now. So right now, with the fresh tires and having more fuel than anybody in front of him, I really think the cards are in Jonathan Delaney's hands. He just got around Mason Lowry for 3rd. And I'll tell you what, not every day you see a car that beat up making passes that quick. And give it another lap, he was going to be on the bumper of Bryson, who actually got overtaken by Robert Miller. So the number 10 has taken that top spot back.
And he's already driving away with it.
He is starting to pull away. And that's a scary thing right there, Ashton, because we've known all night that Robert Miller's forte, his specialty, has been long run speed. He's on a short run right now, and he is pulling away from that 63, so maybe he's got a little bit of everything right now.
And he's just proven he's hard to pass. Even it doesn't matter how worn his tires are. They could be 30 laps older than the guys behind him. It doesn't matter. He just controls that lead, as we see the number 9 car and Sean O'Brien both making a pass on Bryson, who's fading a lot faster than Robert Miller here. It's just, you gotta wonder who's gonna finally get around Robert Miller. I think he's been managing his tires a lot better than his Nexus teammate Bryson, and it's definitely showing here. As I think Bryson's gonna just hope and pray here that another caution doesn't come out anytime soon, or he just
I tell you what, the tires in this simulator are very difficult to conserve. We do have a car stop on the back stretch, no caution yet. That is the 99, Ryan McDaniel. Bingo Matthews. As he works his way towards the pit road. But anyways, as I was saying, the tire model in this game is very finicky, and 1 degree of temperature can make all the difference in the world with how fast your tires wear and what kind of pace your car maintains throughout a run. So when you see a driver pulling away like Robert Miller is, you know that he's doing something, right? He is running a better line ever so slightly. Maybe his setup just has a little bit less camber, it's heating the tire up a little less, but there's just that little something that he's got, that he has found out, that is giving him this advantage, and I'm sure everybody behind him is trying to figure out what that is. But we do have a replay on the top right of your screen. There is Ryan McDaniel in the number 99 Microsoft machine. and he blew an engine. I do believe that is some radiator damage that caused that. I mean, the front end of the car was basically gone.
Right in
So-
front of Ryan Samuelson, who masterfully got around that just in time as he dropped all cylinders and tried to limp it to pit road, couldn't. Got just close enough to pit road that they could retrieve the car and put it behind the wall. He is going to be done for the night.
And all of that going on, and Jonathan Delaney has taken the lead. So the number 9 is at the point, but for how long? Because Sean O'Brien Jr. is consistently lapping faster than that number 9. Here he comes through the corner. He is at the bumper. And as the number 9 drifts wide, the 65 sees an opportunity down low. Does he take it? No. He's going to lift a little bit early, give Jonathan the time to get ahead a little bit there, and not making any aggressive moves yet as they come down the back straightaway. Does the 65 close this gap again? Not quite. Same pace through 3 and 4, except on exit. Right on exit there. You see the 65 really punch the throttle, close the gap up. And Jonathan Delaney a little bit loose. Got to wonder, Ashton, maybe that rear end damage is making the number 9 a little bit looser than the 65.
Yeah, and we talked about how aero's not going to matter as much here tonight, but when the cars are that close, nose to tail, and you're going through the corner with that much momentum, I mean, I know it's a technical track. It's all about grip levels, but that aero definitely playing a factor when you got cars running that close to each other, and you can take the air off that rear spoiler. And with a banged up race car like Jonathan Delaney has here tonight, definitely be interesting to see if Sean O'Brien doesn't put the screws to him. But I can't help but wonder, you notice he's running a little bit of a lane up, and you can't help but wonder if maybe the 9 car took a page out of Robert Miller's book by running behind him for so long, and maybe he's trying to put used to that right now and keep the 65 behind him long enough that he can't use the fresh tires to his advantage and get that run on him.
Absolutely, and I got to wonder, Bryson said he was going to try to run it out for about 50 to 60 laps on these older tires, which would put him pitting right around lap 300 or so. So I would expect a few of these guys to really start that pit sequence here in about 40 or so laps. But it's going to be interesting because right now we have such a split in the field. We've got drivers who they could potentially go all the way up into lap 340, 350 without too much trouble. And then we got drivers who, they've got to pit around lap 300. And that's going to put them kind of close to making it to the end, and definitely their tires are going to be a lot older by the time they reach the end of that stage. So it's going to be a big split, and I think we're probably going to see a lot of shuffling in the running order if it all kind of plays out the way that I think it is. But it sounds like Jonathan Delaney coming over the radio, not entirely sure. I think he might have got into the wall a little bit. He was whatever he was responding to, he was not too pleased, but there's nobody around him, so kind of forced to assume that he got into the wall. And right now, Sean O'Brien in that 65 has a 0.5 second lead and extending. That 65 is dialed in right now.
Yep, and I mean, you can only wonder, we've only got 11 cars on the lead lap, and I think it's going to stay that way for probably the end of the race. I mean, Ryan Samuelson is the next car laps down, and he is 2 laps down. The next car behind him is a driver in our league who is 5 laps down, and I mean, those are insurmountable odds. You got to think it's almost going to be a race between the top 10 and then one car on the outside looking in. So interesting race so far. We've got a lot of victims of just race incidents, net code, just the track being the track that it is. It is definitely a race of attrition, as our producer points out. It's he's no stranger to this kind of racing either, and it's definitely tough. It's like we said, you're managing the durability of not only your car, but like you said, with the nerves being fried, we heard from Price and Hixenbaugh. He is a little shaken up by and scrambling to figure out how he's going to pull this off or manage to pull something off to salvage his night going through his tires. It's the durability of your driver as well. The durability of just everything involved in this weekend. And we're seeing Sean O'Brien pull away to a 1.2 second lead he is probably cool as a cucumber right now. He a little bit of banter between him and John Delaney. Didn't have the restart he wanted earlier, a couple cautions back, but definitely making up for it now with a strong showing. And it'll be interesting to see if Bryson Hicksonbaugh and Robert Miller are regular contenders tonight, make up this deficit that they are now witnessing.
It's gonna be tough to make up that deficit. I mean, like I said, I think the cards are in the hands of those drivers who did pit and who were able to take tires, presuming that they're not now short on tires. If they're short on tires, that could be a definite bad thing, but we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Right now, though, presuming that it's playing out the way I think it is, I think the cards are in their hands. And going back to the durability of your driver and not just the car. I mean, Dover is a tiring track because when you go into these corners, there is a huge divot in the track. You kind of bounce up and then right back down, roll into the corner like a roller coaster. And then as you exit the corner, you do the exact same thing. And every single time, your force feedback on your wheel is letting you know exactly what a big bump you just went over. And it's fighting you, and it's trying to rip it out of your hands. And a lot of these drivers, they spent a lot of money and invested a lot of time into this sim, and which means they're probably running direct drive wheels, which are even more powerful, even more fluent. And when you go over those bumps with a direct drive wheel, you know it. And they're going to be going over those bumps. 400 laps, there's 4 bumps in on the track like that, so you do the math. That adds up to a lot of cranking on the wheel and trying to keep that car underneath you. It can be extremely exhausting, extremely quick.
Absolutely, and it's just the force being exerted on the cars, the drivers, just everything. It's I think by the end of this race, especially if we come down to the final closing laps of this thing and it gets heated, or we have possibly a green white checkered, or a short run to the end, we're gonna have some out of breath drivers for our final interviews.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm out of breath just watching these guys. I can't. Whoa! Chad Edwards, hard into the inside wall, and now into the outside. Another car collected.
Oh man!
79 machine, and then Samuelson piles in. Oh
and
no!
Brandon Pierce also involved there. Looked like he squeaked by with just a little bit of right side damage, but oh man! And Matthew Gaskins, he had driven his way from previous damage and wrecks all the way up to about 7th place. So that engine is blown. His car is going down the pits. I can't help but think that's a night ender for a couple more of these guys. And the amount of guys on the lead lap in this fight gets even smaller.
Yeah, that was a little bit of net code there, but just hard hit for the 4, hard hit for the 16, the 79 with a massive hit.
That 4
actually
cars.
two good hits to that 38. He did make it through, but he took 2 good hits. And the number 1, that's the second time we've seen that number 1 get pinned to the inside wall, pretty much against his wishes there. He's not having a good night.
Yeah, that was a huge amount of net code between those 2 cars. I didn't even see them door each other. Like, the doors didn't even touch. It was everything's being thrown at them tonight. Tires, the track, just wonky set. The service itself throwing another wrench into the mix, saying, let me throw something in here."
I'll tell you what, this makes things interesting because Bryson, we know for a fact, did not want another caution. He did not want another opportunity to take tires because he knew he would have to if it was an opportunity. But he said if he did, he was going to run out of tires. So with that caution coming out, I think that forced him down pit road probably 20 to 25 laps sooner than he wanted to come down. And as for Jonathan Delaney, he came down pit road and took tires as well. So he actually managed to take the lead there on that pit sequence as well. But Jonathan Delaney taking tires now, as well as for that caution, just 29, 30 or so laps ago, I got to think John's probably getting pretty short on tires too.
Yeah, and you can't help but wonder, like, what are these teams, tire counts, and did they save more sets of tires way back when we saw these guys that weren't at the front? Now they are. Like, Sean O'Brien was sitting in the top 10, but he was near the back half of the top 10. Now he's up there contending for the lead, and maybe he saved a couple sets, just for that. He knew this was coming, this occasion. It'll be interesting to see if the 9 car runs out, if we have a couple more cautions. I'm inclined to believe it's not if, but when we have more cautions at this point.
I would agree.
Who's going to run out? And who saved just one extra special set of tires, matched tires possibly for for the end of this race.
I was talking to Brandon Pierce in DMs one day, and he told me, there's this application you can install that tells you how many tire sets each individual driver has left. And like the professional I am, I looked at that and I said, okay, maybe I'll look into that. And then I saw that the tire limit for this race was 10 sets, and I thought, nope, I'm not going to need that. 10 sets is plenty. Boy, was I mistaken.
Miles aims to prove you wrong tonight.
Yes, indeed. So let's go off on the pace car. These guys still aren't quite doubled up behind them. They got a little bit of sorting and organizing to do back there if you want to get green this time around. But
I gotta say, look at Kevin Steele still out there, and the 21 car. These guys have had blown engines. They've seen it all tonight. There is no existing front end on a lot of these cars, and they are out there still turning laps. Cameron Stone's still out there. Against all odds, these guys they're trying their hardest to stay alive and not let Miles get the upper hand.
Absolutely. And I kind of, it does not surprise me that Kevin Steele is back out on the track. I mean, he told me pre-race Fringus McGuffin was his childhood hero. He had a poster of him on his bedroom door. He would stare at that every night, and he was like, one day that's going to be me winning that one race before getting arrested for tax evasion. Well, Kevin Steele has won a race, but he has not been arrested for tax evasion. So he wants to get out here and win another race for Fringus. Even if he's hundreds of laps down, he's never going to give it up. As Jonathan Delaney gets on the throttle, big wheel spin there, Ashton.
Oh man, yeah, John Delaney getting out to a healthy start there. It seems like second place on back are still scrambling to figure out. Robert Miller swinging loose there.
Wow, I thought that was a wreck right there. Those two quarter panels came together, and I was waiting for it. That was an impressive save by Robert Miller and the 65 to make sure that did not escalate beyond what it was.
Yep, definitely showcasing their talent at the front half of the field here. Mason Lowry still in this as well, and looking like the 20 car on the outside of the top 5 looking in, but he is back up in this and looking for another chance at it.
Absolutely. We do have some cars on pit road. Those are the guys getting damaged fixed if they can. We saw this momentarily. But right now, the battle on the track, you're looking at the number 10, who is currently trying to overtake for third.
You see John Delaney bobble on the apron going into one there, and gives up the lead to Bryson.
And we're going to put the 63 back up to the lead. And this is stressful to watch because I am just kind of in the dark. I don't know who has how many tires left. I don't know who's got the long run car, who's got the short run car, because it seems to be changing up every single time we have a stint. This has been one eventful race, and everything has been so topsy-turvy. I mean, who would have thought, Ashton, when Bryson said, yep, I'm going to have to stay on old tires, and if we get another caution, that's not good for me. Who would have thought that we'd see Bryson back up front so soon? And because we got another caution, it actually ended up helping him, it would seem.
And I think as long as we stay green here, knock on wood, I mean, maybe he's just hoping to stretch out his lead as far as possible as he can on these fresh tires, and he's booking it for that reason. He's just hoping he doesn't have to hold off the field on another restart here.
Absolutely, and he is pulling away to a commanding lead right now. It's up to 0.8 seconds. Sean O'Brien is in third there at about 1.4 seconds back. Robert Miller fourth, 2 seconds back. Kyle Ammon in fifth, 2.4 back. Mason Lowry back there in sixth. He's got about 2.7 seconds to the leader. Jason S. Taylor is in seventh. Randy Drumiller eighth, and Last car on the lead lap, P9. That's going to be Brandon Pierce, the new Team Conti driver, who has kind of fallen upon some misfortune. He has been involved in a couple incidents where he really had nowhere to go. Luckily, just barely avoiding them, but taking a little bit of damage in the process. So he's trying to stay on the lead lap and make sure that he is in a good situation. Should we get caution?
Yep, and I mean, you can't help but think. I mean, we have less than the top 10. Like, we only have 9 cars on the lead lap, and I mean, there's still over 100 laps to go. You gotta wonder, just over 100 laps to go. You gotta wonder, what is going through these guys' heads right now. It makes you wonder. I think we should talk about. This is a good time to talk about it, Andre. What do you think the keys to winning this race are as we get into the closing 100 laps?
Honestly, it's hard to tell because this race has been so all over the place, and we've seen so many drivers, come and go, where the cars seemed fast at one point and then they faded another. We've seen moments where it seemed like the strategy was going to line up for one guy, and then all of a sudden, things change, and now all of a sudden the cards are in the other driver's hands. So I think a lot of it, as much as I hate to say it, I think a lot of it's going to come down to a little bit of lady luck, but it's also going to come down to just being consistent and trying to adapt to the constant wrenches that are being thrown at you. If you get more cautions than you expect, you got to adapt to that. If you get less cautions, you got to adapt. If your car starts to fade on the long run, then you got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to get that long run speed, how to play defense, and it's just going to be constantly taking in your surroundings, figuring out what they are, and reacting as best you can.
Yep, and I think I gotta agree with you there about the adaptability. I think adaptability is something that a lot of these drivers struggle with, and I don't mean that as in they're not talented or anything, but I mean it more as in the sense of these guys, they practice all week, they put down hundreds of laps, they are really in the zone, tweaking the setups. They're not thinking about, well, what if we have 10 cautions in a row? They're not thinking about things like that. They're focused. You gotta kind of focus naturally on a long run sequence. You gotta plan for best case scenario, because if you just always plan for worst case, you're gonna be left holding the bag and nothing to show for it. As we see Robert Miller pulling up on the number 9 car there, got a little bit of probably fresher tires there than the 9. I couldn't agree more. Adaptability is going to be something that you just gotta manage. You gotta figure it out, and you gotta be reactive, and you gotta be reactive in the right way.
And if you are Bryson Ixenbaugh right now, I would say you're probably getting a little bit nervous because Robert Miller just got around Jonathan Delaney for second place, and he did it with ease. I mean, he made that pass absolutely textbook, immediately pulled out to about 4/10 advantage over Jonathan Delaney the very same lap, and now he is continuing to run down our leader, Bryson Ixenbaugh. Last time around for Bryson and Robert Miller, the gap went from 1.5 down to 1.3, so Robert Miller 0.2 of a second faster. So that long run speed maybe starting to come in for the number 10, and I'm curious to see how does this battle develop, because we know the 10 can be a little bit quicker on these long runs, but we've also seen he struggles in the dirty air, and passing has proven to be very difficult. So, gotta wonder how aggressive is he gonna have to get if he wants to get by this 63.
I think it all depends on where he catches him. If there's lap cars around, or I think it honestly just depends on what the tire wear levels are, because we've shown that Bryson can get out there and hold a lead. But it just seems like when he has a car that the tires are worn on it and he hasn't managed them maybe as well, he just has to give it up, because he just does not have the pace to hold off a hard charging driver like Robert Miller or John Delaney. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe Bryson says, well, we're under 100 laps, I gotta change my tone a little bit. No more Mr. Nice Guy, but
Absolutely, and we are just now at about 101 laps to go. It'll be 100 exactly when Bryson crosses the line. And I'm noticing the paces between the two front runners are starting to equalize. Robert Miller was about 0.3 of a second faster per lap for a while. Now, the last 2 laps, he's only gained 1/10. This time, as he crosses the line, he didn't gain a tenth at all. He only gained a few hundredths. So Now maybe starting to plateau on that tire wear, unfortunately. Burned his tires up trying to get up to the leader.
Yeah, and we've seen that all night between those two drivers where they wear their stuff out a little bit quick trying to get up there, and then trying to stay within striking distance to find the opening and make the pass. And we even saw Sean O'Brien trying to make a move on the number 9 car, not able to get it done before his tires worn out. So I think we're going to be seeing that all night.
Absolutely. You can see on the intervals there that Miller is still faster. It's just that how much he's faster by it has kind of depleted. And I think as the tires start to plateau, you're going to see that even more, especially when you take into the fact that he is starting to get into dirty areas. He actually did get a 10th that time, so still a lot of speed to be had in that number 10. We'll see if he can go all the way and get up to the 63 as our leader tries to work around the lap traffic of Cameron Stone, who again was involved in that incident very early with Patrick Much. He's going to let them go no problem. He's going to stay high. There goes Robert Miller on the bottom. And again, Robert a 10th faster that time by. We got smoke on the apron in front of the leader. That's a scary sight. There was a car down there on the apron. Not sure who that was.
It's looking like possibly the 21 car of Bryce Hoffman. Looking like he blew an engine again there. Definitely unfortunate for the 21 driver of that Shell Pennzoil car.
We do have a replay queued up on the top right of your screen. That is going to be what happened to the number 21. You can see the front end is pretty beat up. And come through the corner. There it goes. Just didn't let go.
Nothing he could have done there. He was trying to run it out, trying to salvage his night, and I don't know if he'll come back out after that. He got caught in that big pile up early in stage 2, and can't help but wonder how he managed to keep that thing running long enough to get all the way to almost the tail end of stage 3 here, but not the night he was hoping for there at the 21 team.
No, it's been a rough night for a lot of these drivers, and with these inside walls being as close as they are, once your car kind of noses down there, if you get loose, you're going to see a lot of frontal impacts, and that is going to absolutely damage your radiator, which is probably the worst thing on the car in this simulator that you could damage. I mean, you can knock your axles out of alignment and still make laps, but if your radiator blows and your engine doesn't have any cooling systems, you're going to explode eventually. And there's nothing you can do about it.
I can attest to it. I've even had races, especially at shorter tracks like this, where if you smack that wall hard enough with the right or left side, I'm surprised we haven't seen the one car of Dustin Hall, knock on wood, but you smack that wall hard enough with the side of the car. I've even seen engines. I've had engines blow up on me just from a hard enough side impact that you didn't think much of, and then 20 or 30 laps later, it comes to bite you. Maybe knocking something loose in the car that just is too much. So we see Bryson making a move on I believe that's the number 6 tracker car. Robert Miller not far behind. I feel like we should kind of run through the field here a little bit. Just do a quick run through and see where we're at as we get into start our journey into the last 100 laps of this race.
Absolutely. So through the field on screen right now, that is your leader, Bryson Nixonbach. It's been an up and down race. There's been times where the strategy seemed to be working out, times where it kind of worked against him. He's led some laps. He's been further back in the field, but right now things are looking pretty comfortable for the driver, the 63. He has about a 0.7 second lead. All he's got to do is worry about the lap traffic ahead.
Yeah, second place, we got Robert Miller here. He's closing in on the leader. He talked early in stage 2 about, we did interview him, and he said something about saving tires is a big thing here. That kind of bit him last week, and he didn't want it to hurt him this week. So I think he may have the upper hand on Bryson there when it comes to not raw speed, possibly on these short runs, but he's got the tires to outlast him. It's going to be interesting to see what he does in these closing laps, or if he still has a extra set that Bryson doesn't. Andre?
And back there in P3, it's the third place kid, Jonathan Delaney. his favorite position back there in P3. He's had another up and down night, a lot like Bryson. He's led some laps. He's fallen a little bit further back, but mostly right now his hands are full. He is battling it out with fourth place Sean O'Brien, and these guys have not gotten away from each other all race long. As Jonathan actually gets into the wall a little bit. Yeah, driver the number 9, fast car tonight, but a full plate right now.
Yep, speaking of Sean O'Brien with Black Flag Motorsports, he is bearing down on that 9 car, like you said, Andre, as they get around the 6 car of, I believe that is Chad Sanner. They are just going at it, and I gotta wonder if something happens to those front 2, if maybe the 65 has a great bid to win here on the slightly damaged John Delaney in front of him, and not really any contest behind at the moment, but we are seeing a couple more drivers enter the picture here, Andre.
And looking back a little bit further into P5, Kyle Lambert in that number 20, he has been quietly consistent tonight. He hasn't really led any laps or been the primary contender for the lead, but he's always been around. He's been in the picture, just kind of hovering around this top 5. And honestly, at a track like Dover, you can't complain about that. If you can keep your car clean, which he has, you can avoid the incidents, which he has, and run in the top 5, you're having a pretty dang good night. So Kyle Lambert trying to carry this momentum forward to the end.
About 3/10 behind him, we got Mason Lowry in the 56 machine. Definitely having a great night. This 56 team has been fantastic tonight with that Wrangler machine. Mason has been strangely quiet tonight. Haven't heard anything from him. Usually he chips in a little bit late to the race, but uncharacteristically quiet for the number 56 driver. Is Mason Lowry making a strong running here at Dover. Definitely flexing his muscle here in the early season as we start going into the summer and things heat up. We go into Coda next week. It'll be interesting to see what they do in that 56 machine.
And looking all the way back into P7, Jason S. Taylor in at number 37. Another driver that's been kind of quietly consistent tonight. He has actually been involved in a few of the scuffles that we've had on track, but ultimately he's managed to get out of all of them pretty much no worse for wear. So he has been making his laps, hitting his marks, and right now he's got about a 9-second gap to overcome if he wants to get to the leader.
In 8th place, we got Brandon Pierce right behind him. These cars are so close throughout the top 10 here, and Brandon Pierce is no stranger to the top 10 tonight. He has been there all night after moving up early in the first stage. He is just raw power here tonight at Dover. All the incidents he's just closely avoided. He's got a little bit of damage to the sides of his car, but nothing major, and got it all patched up. And he's definitely a strong showing for this driver who moved to Team Conti, and it's definitely looking good on him. Gotta say, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up in the next couple weeks. Andre.
And in 9th place, you got Randy Drumhiller, who actually got, I believe, his first top 10 of the season last week at Darlington, and now trying to make it 2 for 2 for the top 10s. Really not much challenge from behind. The next car behind Drumhiller is 4 laps behind him. So as long as he keeps this car underneath him, he keeps the car pointed in the right direction, he is set to get his second top 10 consecutively.
Speaking of the car, 4 laps behind him, we got Damaris Higman. He definitely is doing a great job out there. The 10th place driver. He's really strong showing tonight. He's in the top 10. Battled some impossible odds and is up here now. Not going to talk too much about him because we're going to let the racing speak for him. He's doing a great job there in 10th place.
Absolutely, and we're going to go ahead and get the camera off of him as quickly as possible before anything bad happens. And then we're going to leave it at that. But Damaris Higginbottom looking to get a top 10 this race, and I think that would be, honestly, a bit of a consolation for Apex. I mean, Apex has had such a rough night tonight with happening between the 24, the 57. They have not had it good. A lot of bad things have been going on for the Apex family there. But Damaris trying to get this top 10 and fighting through, like you said, impossible odds and still having a good run. And now moving on so that he doesn't wreck. The battle for the lead has continued to kind of stagnate, I would say. We saw Robert Miller close the gap so much in such a short period of time. And then before you knew it, it's kind of just stalled out at about 1.3 seconds. That's how far back he's been for a number of laps now. As now Bryson's working his way around Cameron Stone again. And there's Damaris Hickenbottom in front of him, who will be going another lap down shortly here. But I'm a little surprised, Ashton. I mean, the number 10 all night long, we've been saying it, long run speed, long run speed. That's what he's got. But now, on one of the longest runs that we've had tonight, he's not really reeling in the leader, even with the lap traffic. So I gotta wonder, is it a difference in how well they're navigating lap traffic? Is Bryson just carving his way through the field a little bit more efficiently, or did Bryson find something in the setup to make this car better long run? Did he change the tire pressures? Did he change something under pit stops that has kind of equalized his car with Robert Miller?
Honestly, I gotta think he's got to be on his last set of tires right now. And if Robert's got even one more set of tires that Bryson does not, even if Robert pits and Bryson stays out there, I think Robert unlaps himself possibly, or runs back up through there and catches Bryson and wins this thing if he's even got one more set of tires, because I don't think Bryson pits for tires. I think all he can do is pit for fuel if he needs it, and that's that. Because but you got to think, even then, knowing that, I think Bryson, yeah, definitely has looked at the changes he could make to the car to think, okay, well, you know, these tires are going to be shot. What can I do to kind of counter that, to kind of make the car feel and drive like it's not on, you know, the most worn tires in the history of Dover Speedway? And I think that's I think setup knowledge is definitely playing into Bryson's hands a little bit here, but it'll be interesting to see if he can maintain that lead. I don't think 1.3 is a big enough deficit for him to salvage something tonight. It'll be interesting to see, for sure.
I mean, if he found something with the setup, if Robert Miller just starts getting a rhythm, I mean, 1.3 is not impossible. It is a fairly large deficit, but again, I feel like this race is so much up in the air even now. I mean, we're on lap 332, and we have roughly 79-ish laps to go. Or I'm sorry, 69-ish laps to go. And I think the strategy is going to be the deciding factor here. Like you said, if Robert Miller has an extra set of tires that Bryson does not, which he might. I mean, remember, he stayed out a time or two when everybody else did pit. So if his tire situation is looking a little bit better, he could unlap himself, because some of these guys are going to have to start pitting, I would think, relatively soon, especially some of these guys that did not pit under the last caution. So strategy kind of up in the air. It's very jumbled up and hard to keep track of who has what and what he's trying to plan on. But we're going to find out real soon, I would say.
Yep, and you got to think, though, even with those two up there, we talk about Bryson, we talk about Robert, still got Sean O'Brien and John Delaney back there. They're only about 7.6, 7.8 seconds back, respectively. You got to wonder if maybe they got another couple extra sets of tires saved for cautions. You got to think maybe they're just back far enough that if something happens to our leaders, or the run goes on long enough, maybe they've got something for them. But it'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't count out our third and fourth place drivers yet, or even Mason Lowry in fifth. But I think everything past that, they're just kind of hoping for a caution, and it'll be interesting to see.
Sean O'Brien nearly getting into the wall there. That was almost the caution that you were talking about. But a good save by Sean O'Brien. I'll tell you what, that man can save a race car. I have seen him over the course of Darlington and Dover here. I have seen him make some corrections with that car that were just beautiful. And that, whoa, Cameron Stone sideways. He gathered it up. Speaking of good corrections, yeah, that 65 machine, man, he is really good at making sure that car does not get out from underneath him. He's been doing a great job with the recoveries, and I think a lot of that is why he's able to run so consistently in the top five, even despite the issues that he's faced throughout these races. And it's because he can kind of push that car. He can drive it really hard. And it can start to get sideways. It can start to get away from him, but usually he can get that thing under control and kind of use that sort of controlled chaos to get these good runs.
Another thing to note is Sean O'Brien having one of the only cars that it doesn't have virtually any damage here at Dover currently in the field. He, you know, managing that durability of the car like we talked about. He's got that, you know, he's got a car that the aero is untouched on it. It's just nothing's crushed in that's rubbing the tires or anything, you know, extra. He's, you know, he's got a car that he can save, and he needs to save it because, you know, we've seen when these guys get in the wall and it just completely ruins their night, even just skipping the wall. So like you said, him saving that definitely matched for work, showing that he's going to be a force that these tested veterans are going to have to deal with as we get into the middle and end of our season. He's gonna be a driver that's there. He's gonna be a name that we talk about a lot more often. So
Down pit road, Robert Miller. Whoa, is got contact with Jonathan Delaney. Sean O'Brien Jr. into the outside wall. Oh man, both of those drivers able to recover. No caution. A lot just happened that lap. We had Robert Miller, one of the front runners, come down pit road. And now we've had some other front runners, Jonathan Delaney and Sean O'Brien Jr., get together. So we're going to take a look at the replay that's been queued up on our 3x3D multi-tool. Top right of your screen is the incident. Bottom left is the current battle for the second, I believe. You can see right there, it was just a little bit of contact.
Yep. And it looked like Brandon Pierce making that move on those drivers on the fresh, probably the fresher tires. He was one of our first ones to pit in that sequence, just getting around them. John Delaney went up there, skipped the wall, and then slowed him down enough that 65 was getting around him, and they just got into it. Just a little bit out there.
He looked a little loose, a little unsettled from getting into the wall. And then Sean O'Brien Jr., he tries to make an evasive maneuver down low, but at that point, Delaney is just, he was just sliding down the track. I mean, he was trying to correct it. He was trying not to hit 65, but the way that the wall repels you in this simulator sometimes, there's just nothing you can do about it. So.
And John Delaney definitely wasting no time after that to try and salvage what he can of it with a little bit more left front damage there. He knows he makes his pit stop and tries to salvage something out of that incident, because I think that takes them a little bit out of the running. Should we stay green here?
They lost a lot of time with that incident, so getting down pit road as soon as they can is probably the best move they could have made to minimize the damage. And right now, I gotta wonder, what is the idea with Bryson Hixenbaugh, who has just passed Robert Miller for position, I believe. So Bryson pitted, Robert pitted. I'm sure that Bryson is now out of tires. He is completely done in terms of having tires. And Robert Miller,
44.
He did get really loose there. That was a close call. Robert Miller, I'm not sure if he has tires for or not. What I do know is that if there is another caution, that means this race could be over for Bryson, because some of these drivers behind him, they're going to have tires that they can come down pit road and pick up, and he is going to have to stay out on track on these older tires, and it's going to be a disaster if it were to come to that.
And looking back at the pit stops, it looks like Bryson also did take tires. Not sure if they were just, you know, some scuffed tires he put back on there or what, but maybe he holding on to one more set of tires there just for this. But it'll be interesting to see if maybe he was bluffing it, or maybe he just saved one last set.
Yeah, like I said, I think that was probably his last set of fresh tires. I think that would be it. And then if he gets a caution flag, it's gonna be rough, because some of these guys, I'm sure, have an extra set stacked up and ready to go should they need it. But Robert Miller now working his way around Kyle in that number 20 car. He is currently fading back a little bit there. The running order currently actually has Kyle is the leader, because he has yet to pit, as well as Jason S. Taylor. Jason S. Taylor in that number 37 has not made his way down pit road. So Jason is currently running third, but as Brandon Pierce comes across the radio and says something about exiting pit road, once Kyle and Jason S. Taylor have come down pit road, I think that's going to give the lead to Bryson. He'll inherit that, and then he's got to make about 50 more laps and just hope that he doesn't get another caution.
I gotta think Brandon Pierce with that short pit, being the first one in the sequence to pit. He's been a lap down for a while. showing him scored as 5th place right now. So if these two drivers up at the front, the 20 and the 37 of Jason S. Taylor, go down pit road, I think that puts Brandon Pierce solidly in 3rd place, ahead of John Delaney and Sean O'Brien. I don't know how long he'll keep it, but definitely an interesting strategy to see if that works out for him.
Absolutely, and he was really able to kind of capitalize, I think, on some of those guys' misfortune, as Jonathan Delaney and Sean O'Brien Jr. definitely cost themselves a lot of time, enough for Brandon Pierce to get around them. And that'll be interesting to see play out. But I'll tell you what, Ashton, you're on lap 352 out of 400, so we got roughly 49 laps remaining in this event. Why don't we throw it to a Shano FX Overdrive and take in some sights and sounds here at Dover. And we're back at Dover for the Throwback Drip 400 as the leader, Kyle Ammon, makes his way down pit road. And that is going to give the lead over to Bryson Hickson-Baugh, who has been patiently waiting in the wings since pitting a good number of laps ago. So that having been done, the current battle for the lead is separated by about 2.5 seconds. Bryson pulling away by a fairly vast margin. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is accurate, but we do believe that Bryson has taken his last set of tires. I don't think he's got another one left. I don't think he's got another set in the pit, so he is going to be relying on this thing staying green. And so far, this last stint has been clear and green, not to jinx anything. And so he might just get what he needs if this continues the way that it's been going. But I don't know, man. Dover, I'm no Larry Mack with the trends of the race, but I feel like Dover's one of those tracks that you don't often see a long 100-plus lap run to green, Ashton.
Yeah, definitely not, and it's uncharacteristic because our first 2 stages we had so many cautions, but I think I don't think the worst is behind us. I think we're going to see like Darlington. We had these green flag runs finally after we claimed a lot of victims early in the race, and then I think we're going to see some late race cautions that kind of shake things up. And that's something that Bryson Hickson-Baugh and possibly Robert Miller do not want to see, but maybe Mason Lowry, John Delaney, Brandon Pierce do want to see. As interesting to note, the number 20 car did miss pit road He said he was pitting and he did not make the commitment box in time. He had to go back around the track. He got back up to speed and had to pit a lap later. So that's going to cost him 2 laps. He is now 2 laps down, scored in 9th. And we're going to see more things like that. We're going to see these guys, they get to these closing laps. The heat is on. They are just, they're going to get shaken up, kind of like we heard Bryson earlier in the race. He was already starting to panic or just a little bit of nervousness in his voice. You're going to see veteran drivers make mistakes possibly. You're going to see these guys, they're going for it. They're scrambling here at Dover.
Absolutely, and right now, I would say Bryson, like I said, he's just hoping and praying that there ain't going to be another caution because he is relying on his thing staying green. But like you said, kind of uncharacteristic for this track to have these long green flag runs. We're just going to have to see how it all shapes out. But I will say right now the game is between Bryson and Robert. And actually, Robert has closed in by about a second over the last few laps, which we saw that a lot in the last stint there. We saw Robert Miller close the gap very rapidly, and then once he got to about 1.3, it started to plateau just ever so slightly, and then he was never able to quite make up that time. So last time around, as Robert Miller crossed his line, it was still 1.4 seconds. So actually, no, 1.2 seconds. So he was actually 0.2 faster that time. Might have a battle for the lead brewing here, as the next car behind them is Mason Lowry. They're in third. He's 19 seconds back. Jonathan Delaney is 4 seconds. I'm sorry, 21 seconds back in fourth. So those are the only 4 cars on the lead lap. This pitting sequence has really shaken things up.
Absolutely, as we see, John Delaney was actually, young John Delaney was actually able to salvage after him and the 65 of Sean O'Brien got into it. He pitted not long after that, got the fresh tires on it, figured, might as well, I'm off pace, just saved it. And Sean O'Brien being scored in 6th as opposed to John's 4th and 1 lap down. So definitely got the better deal out of that. We'll see if he gets 3rd again. As he closes in on Mason Lowry or attempts to, and yeah, we've only got 4 cars in the lead lap as it stands right now, so caution would be nice to get a couple more cars in the lead lap, get some wave rounds, and draw the field back together. I can't help but think we're not out of the woods yet, and by we I mean the drivers.
Definitely not, and I tell you what, Bryson's not out of the woods either, because Robert Miller, again, I think he closed in about a 10th that last time, but it is starting to slow down. Robert Miller is not gaining at the rate that he once was. So I think we're seeing something very similar to the last stage there, where he's really, really fast and closes the gap up by a fair amount. And then once the tires start to wear and everything equals out, they're just nearly identical in pace, which is pretty much what's happened, because that last time around it stayed at 1.2 again. So I think Robert Miller is probably hoping for the opposite of what Bryson is hoping for. I think Robert's probably hoping for a caution. Mason Lowry, John Delaney, I mean, they're definitely not close enough to make anything happen by the time we get to the end of these 30 laps or so that remain, 31 laps. But, I'm sorry, 29. But Robert, he is within striking distance. He's just got to put himself in the picture. He's got to make sure that he conserves those tires well enough that maybe late into this run, Bryson starts to temper out just a little bit. And Mason and John, they're just waiting for a caution. Regardless of their tire situation, even if they don't have another set, they need that caution just because of how far back they are. I mean, Jonathan Delaney in that R9 car, he's 23 seconds back. A lap time here.
He is about to go a lap down as Bryson, and trying to put him a lap down, but I think John's trying to hold him off here, and I think that's going to be what Robert Miller's looking for, as he finally lets Bryson go, but not before Robert Miller gets within a second of Bryson there.
And is going to put him a lap down, so that's going to leave 3 cars total on the lead lap. Mason Lowry next in line to be put a lap down by Bryson. Now, we have only seen, I believe, in the history of broadcasting here on 3 Live TV, I think we've only seen 1 time where a driver managed to lap the entire field, and 2 times actually, and I think both times it was the driver who's currently leading the race, Bryson Hixenboss. So maybe a little bit of foreshadowing there, Ashton.
I mean, at this point, it's I can't say it's anybody's race because it's looking like it's just it's gonna be the top 2 cars, and that's not something we expected. We were hoping there would be some more cautions here. I mean, not hoping, but you know, something to shake things up. But we have 2 really dominant drivers right here.
Absolutely, and
I believe we had an engine blow on the front straight there. Believe that
yeah,
was
trying to. Oh, was it Dustin Hall? I see Dustin Hall slow off pace.
I believe that was Dustin Hall finally. And we talked about this, that you know, that right and left side damage possibly finally doing a number on that car, and sure enough, I mean the front end looks fine, which is I think hitting the wall as many times as he did, just
Yeah, the radiator just gave out. I mean, it, like you said, he took a lot of hard hits throughout this race. So, unfortunate for Dustin Hall. Team Conti takes yet another hit this race. Not a good night for a lot of these teams. It seems like whatever team Monster Mile sets its sights on, there is no escape. I mean, Team Apex has had a really rough night. Obviously, Team Conti has had a bad night. LMM, they've had multiple wrecks. A lot of their cars are, the ones that remain are out there very damaged and beat up. High Side, of course, one of their drivers was unable to even, actually 2 of their drivers were unable to make this race. One of the ones that did had a few incidents. Their laps down. The only really saving grace for High Side right now is the fact that Bryson's leading the race. Really seems like so far tonight there have been really no survivors. I mean, this track has been really eating these guys up indiscriminately.
yeah, absolutely. It's just, and like you said, you talked about it possibly targeting teams, but I think at this point, you know, Miles doesn't discriminate, and he will take out the entire field if he has to. And as we see, you know, so many cars not even 1 lap down, but multiple laps down. Miles would rather see everybody not finished on the lead lap if he has to, and we may see that. Only 2 cars finish on the lead lap tonight if we stay green here, and I mean we're getting close to 10 to go. It's coming up on us before you know it, and can't help but wonder, is something going to happen here, or are we going to just see this play out as Robert gets within 1.2 seconds again. I think those lap times are starting to wind down for him still again as he drops another 10th there. It's just so back and forth between these 2 drivers at the front. Can Robert maybe find a little bit of extra something here to catch Bryson at the end?
Yeah, again, I mean, these guys have had such similar pace all week long. I mean, from qualifying to warm-up laps, now to the race, it just seems like they have been pretty much tire track for tire track, and that's not changing. So 17 laps to go. You could definitely close this 1.1 second gap in 17 laps. That is more than enough time. But like we talked about earlier, getting to the leader and passing the leader are 2 very different things, as the dirty air has a huge effect of this track, even with I believe this is the low downforce package. So despite that, still a little bit rough. And Robert, you're right. I mean, it is kind of going back and forth between these lap times, because he did have it down to 1.1, and last time around it was back up to 1.2. So really, I think the only thing that's going to change the running order that we have right now would be a yellow flag.
Yep, and I mean, like I said a couple times before in Darlington last week, we don't hope for yellow flags here at 3 Wide TV, but I mean, it would
And there's... Nope, never mind. The producer is just messing with us. Got out the yellow flag. It's real funny, Carlos. You know, we're out here driving with these throwbacks to honor the likes of Fringus McGuffin and Bingo Matthews, and you're out here fooling around with these fake colors. Willie Mays Hayes too. Yeah. Oh man, that would have been funny though. Had that caution come out. I swear there's got to be a commentator's curse.
we would have had a collective. I think the top 2 would definitely be more than a little upset with that call.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys kind of rooting for there to not be a caution, but a few of these guys probably thinking the opposite, as the gap to second place pretty much remains the same, 1.2 seconds. And behind them, the last car in the lead lap is Mason Lowry. Still, he's 22 seconds back, so about 1 second from being a lap down. And he's got to hold that position for another 12 laps. Right
if you
now,
look right now on the track, Bryson is not even a straightaway. He is maybe half of, or just one corner away. He is in 2 as Mason exiting 2 right now. He's almost there. This is going to be a 2-car battle, if it even happens to be a 2-car battle. We haven't seen Robert Miller really gain anything. Hasn't lost much either, but
and we are at 10 to go. And like you said, Robert Miller not really gaining nor losing. The gap last time was 1.2 seconds, which is exactly where it has stood for upwards of 10, 15 laps. So again, it's just kind of these drivers being from the same pro team, very similar lap times and setups. So it makes sense. Mason Lowry really just clinging to staying on the lead lap. And he does have slightly fresher tires than Bryson, so that's probably beneficial to him there, and might just barely keep him safe from going a lap down. Brandon Pierce running back there in P5 is behind Jonathan Rennie, who's 4th. Jason S. Taylor 5th, and Randy Drumhiller back there running in 7th. He is really looking to try and get another top 10 here. He's been having a silently good night all night long. And then I'd say the heartbreak of the race, Sean O'Brien Jr., he's back there in 8th, and he can't complain about a top 10, but man, the way Delaney got loose and the way that Sean really got the short end of the stick on that after having such a good car all night, a little bit rough, I would say, for sure. I mean, but he's not alone in having bad luck. I mean, how many incidents have we seen tonight, Ashton, that were just really, I mean, he's a product of nothing more than just wrong place, wrong time, bad timing. But right now, again, it's just same picture. Robert Miller, Bryce Nixon, Bob pulling away, trying to get to the end.
yeah, and you can't help but wonder. I know we're still kind of early in the season. I believe this is our 13th race in the season. You can't help but wonder if maybe we see a lot more of this as the season goes on. We got these 2 guys that they're both on the same team with Nexus. They're on separate teams in the 100% Cup Series, but we see a lot of back and forth between these 2 drivers, and maybe we see like a little competitive kind of just a driver rivalry between these 2. Nothing like we normally see, like a rivalry like, oh man, like I can't stand that guy, but just competition wise, like these 2 are neck and neck most of the time, and they're just they're duking it out week to week, it seems like. And I think we're going to see more of this. I think Coda's going to be interesting. I think we see a shake up there from our norm, but once we get back to another oval, I think we see these 2 characteristically at the front row again for another qualifying session, another race. And this is just getting started for those 2, I feel like.
Definitely. Robert Miller, he's been showing up more and more as we get into the season here and get further. And every time he's shown up, he has made himself a force. I mean, he's been doing really fantastic. We're going to the 3-wide TV multicam on the bottom left. That's your leader. On the top right, that looks to be the number 99, his teammate in high side, battling it out with Chad Edwards in the 4, as well as I believe that is the number 6 machine ahead of him. But we got 3 laps to go, not much time remaining.
Mason Lowry proving hard to pass, kind of holding up Bryson here. As we see Robert Miller get the closest he's been in 20 or 30 laps. He is within a second. And as long as Mason Lowry holds on to this lead lap, as long as he doesn't let Bryson by, I think we may have ourselves a battle for the win here.
Well,
it all depends on these next 2 laps.
It would have to happen now because we are on lap 400 for the R Publix Chicken Tenders subsonsale.com white flag of the race. Bryson still with a 0.7 second advantage. Robert Miller closed the gap a lot over the last couple of laps, but it hasn't been enough. Bryson is going to round 3 and 4 and win here at Dover International for the running Throwback Drip 400.
Absolutely masterful play by Bryson there. I gotta say he wasn't quite sure about his chances. I think he really doubled down there, and we showed he didn't crack under the pressure per se. So it was interesting to see him actually hold off charging Robert Miller there at the end. I think Mason Lowry finally giving up that spot gave Bryson just enough time to salvage his lead. Super interesting race throughout. Had a lot of heavy hitters get taken out early. A lot of guys salvage the races tonight. I know Cameron Stone, wrecked from up near the lead early in this. 62 laps down, he is 12th place scored. So he definitely had a somewhat salvage night, as we see 63 doing some crazy burnouts there, just saying, "Hey, you missed me, Miles." It'll be interesting to hear his interview tonight when we get them up in the booth.
And it is 2 in a row now for Bryson Hicksonbaugh, who won Darlington. Now has got the win here at Dover. A lot of momentum carried forward in Dakota, which Bryson, he feels relatively confident at road courses, so that should be interesting to see. We're going to go over a quick rundown of the final results. Then we're going to throw it to a short break, and then when we come back, we'll have our interviews with the top 3 finishers. So, our final running order I'll take 1st to 10th, Ashton. You can take from 10th back to 20th, and we'll trade it off like that till we get to the end. Bryson Hicksonbaugh is going to bring it home for the 2nd time in a row, getting the win here at Dover. Robert Miller with a powerful run all night long. Unfortunately, coming up 0.7 of a second short, actually 1.2 seconds short, I suppose, in P2. Mason Lowry with a really great P3 finish there after really battling it out all night long with a lot of different drivers. I mean, he was constantly in traffic. He was able to get up there into P3. Jonathan Delaney, avoiding his favorite position, finishes 4th for LMM. Brandon Pierce, he's going to be running P5 for his new team, Team Conti. Jason Taylor behind him. Randy Drumhiller with another top 10. Sean O'Brien Jr., Kyle Ammon, and Damaris Hickenbottom with a top 10.
11th place is going to be Chad Edwards, 42 laps down, coming in behind Damaris Hickenbottom. Cameron Stone holding on for a 12th place finish. You could tell he was ecstatic every time he got a position there. Definitely a salvage night that could have been a lot better, but for him to hold on, awesome. Dustin Hall in the number 1 Pepsi car, holding on all night, finally had a blown engine, 66 laps down, 13th. Ryan McDaniel, 14th in that number 99 machine for Bingo Matthews, 82 laps down. Still a good night for him overall. Chad Sander in the number 6, we saw him cause a pileup early on in the race. 85 laps down, 15th place, so a top 15 for your Mr. Sander there. Kevin Steele rallying back, 103 laps down, but a 16th place finish for him, and he gridded 15th, so almost broke even there. Bryce Hoffman, 17th, 110 laps down. Matthew Gaskins, unfortunate incident that cost him being on the lead lap, 119 laps down, 18th place. Ryan Samuelson in the 16 car, 127 laps down, 19th place. And then Alex Princeton is going to round out your top 20, 165 laps down.
And rounding out the rest of the field, you got Michael Whitaker in 21st. Preston McRae, P22. Jamison Pearson at 23rd. Adam Benefield with a heartbreaking P24. Tyler Pinsino in 25th. Dalton Mobley, 26th. Raymond Root, who gridded up a little bit late, 317 laps down, finishes at 27th. Nolan Hodgson finishing 28th. 29th is going to be Patrick Much. And that is going to do it for our final running order. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we get back, interviews with your top 3. And we are back for our post-race coverage here at Dover. We got our top 3 in the waiting room for their interviews. We're going to start it out with our third place finisher, Mason Lowry. Mason Lowry, you got a copy?
Gotcha.
I tell you what, it was a fantastic run out there all night long. You were hovering around the top 5 early in the race. Then towards the end, you played the strategy just right, got up on the podium. Tell me about your night. How was the car?
Yeah, the car was okay. Short run, it was unbelievable. Like if we had a 20-lap run, we could run with anybody. We ran, I think it was into stage 1 or 2, where we were all over Robert there. Top 3, all really close together. So if we had a 20-lap run, I think we could have run with anybody. But just unfortunately, Robert and Bryson were in a different area code than everybody else when it came to long run speed.
Absolutely. Well, you were in danger of going a lap down there at the very end, and then eventually Bryson did overtake you. How defensive were you going to get with Bryson there?
Well, I just told him the first thing I said was, blank you, I could have stayed on the lead lap if I wanted to as soon as we got in the pre-interview chat. Because, like, I knew I could have stayed on the lead lap. I had really good pace at the end of that run. But I saw Robert kind of closing in a little bit, and I just didn't want to cost him anything or something freaky happen and we get loose or something happen to where we get together and he didn't win after 400 laps. So I didn't want to push it too hard, but at the end of the day, you kind of want to say, screw you guys. At least I didn't get lapped, but it is what it is. It's third either way, so I don't care.
Absolutely cannot complain about a podium. Well, Mason, before we let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out or thank for your top 3 finish?
Oh yeah, of course, Bryson, helps a big deal with LMM and yourself, Mr. Team Owner, for putting us out on the track, so appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, again, Mason, congratulations on your top 3, and hopefully you can carry this momentum forward.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, that was your 3rd place finisher, Mason Lowry. Now, it's going to be Ashton Hartman with your 2nd place finisher, Robert Miller. Take it away, Ashton.
Robert, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, I gotta say, you got the brand new team. We heard you got signed to DGR and doing a fantastic job there. I mean, your first 2 tracks here, Darlington and Dover, you said you love them. A lot of drivers are gonna hate them after these past 2 weeks, but you managed to salvage a nice finish here. A lot better than last week with the restart having no tires. I think you learned from that mistake. How much did Darlington play a factor into tonight's strategy for you?
Really, just not much. It's just pay attention to the tires. Like this race felt a lot different than Darlington, where we were having a lot of short runs. In first stage, we had like 4 cautions or something like that, and we were taking tires each turn. We're like, all right, cool. Now we actually got to pay attention to our tires. Where Darlington, it kind of like fell. We had long runs after long runs after long runs. That it just you take tires because you had 40 laps on the tires. So you had 2.5 seconds of fall off. You just had to take them. That's just how that fell. It was a learning lesson last week, but I mean this week was a whole different kind of race.
Yeah, and we did hear from Bryson earlier when we interviewed him for his stage win. He said something about 20 laps on these tires. They just you can't go on a restart with them because you're just gonna get screwed by the guys with fresh tires. And he was talking about, and you were talking about, not having to manage your sets. You were blowing through them, all these cautions, and they were just one after the other, and it seemed like we were going to get an endless stream of them to the end of the race. And then uncharacteristically, the race stayed green the rest of the race. How big of a wrench was that in your guys' plans, hoping to maybe drive away with it or catch them on a restart?
Not really. The field was set as it was between me and Bryson. If I was out front, I could stay in front of him. If he was out front, he would stay in front of me. It's just how the chits fell with dirty air and how we each chose how to run the track. He would pull me 2 seconds to start to run, and then about 30 laps in, I'd start pulling him 2/10, 3/10 here. Then about a second, once we get within a second of each other, you couldn't make any more ground up. There's so much dirty air in, and I'm running through my right rear so bad I had to save hard. Being that close to somebody. That's mainly what Dover was this week, was just saving the right rear and just managing your pace and managing your temps on your tires and just really, really driving the track more than you are driving anybody else. Like you really couldn't afford to really race anybody here, which kind of harkens back to the old days. It was pretty nice. It was a fun race.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun race to watch and broadcast. And before we take it over to you, to just one more question. We saw you guys battling both weeks now at Darlington and Dover, you and Bryson. We're starting to talk a little bit about maybe there's some kind of a competitive rivalry between you guys. Maybe not like a, I don't like you kind of rivalry, but more of a, like you guys are just going to be some of the top contenders every week. How do you feel about that, being so fresh to this and being on a brand new team? And you just had your debut last week. Is that is there a little bit of intimidation there? Going up against these veteran drivers that you've don't have a lot of experience racing against, but you sure seems like you do.
No, not at all. No intimidation. I'm not afraid of Bryson, even a little bit. He's a good guy. We talk a little bit every once in a while. Yeah, I'm just glad to be having a part of this. It's fun, a little league. It's definitely a workout. I'm sweating over here. That was a long 120 lap run that we had to do. That was, I'm tired. I won't be here next weekend for COTA just because of work. But I should be in for Charlotte. We'll see.
Alrighty.
Other than that, yeah, I had a fun race. All I know is Delaney kind of messed me up with the on the last restart. He started on the outside. I knew didn't have a chance anymore. Once Bryson, he's going to get in front of me at that point. Yeah, I had nowhere to go on that restart, and that was it.
Yep. Robert, you want to thank anybody before you get out of here tonight?
Yeah, DGR for giving me the invite at the last minute. I wasn't expecting it, and I told him ahead of time I probably won't be able to run enough races to even qualify for the playoffs, but they were willing to keep me on here, so we'll deal with it. And then Nexus Esports, of course. Can't thank them enough. They allowed me to build setups for them and get a lot of experience doing this.
Well, enjoy your week off, Robert, and we hope to see you back after COTA.
Yeah, man, have a good one.
All right, that was your second place finisher, Robert Miller. Now we're going to bring in the race winner, Bryson Nixonbaugh. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, Bryson, was 2 in a row at 2 very daunting tracks. How do you feel about that? You feeling pretty good going into these next few weeks, coming off this momentum?
I'm feeling really good about the momentum. My shoulder's not feeling too good about these last 2 races, but doing good with the wins. That always makes you feel better. I don't know that I can keep it up at Circuit of the Americas next. That's a whole other beast, but it feels real good to get these 2 wins here. I didn't get the wins at Dover last year that I felt like I could have, and come back here, get another win at the track I didn't win at last year. It feels real great.
Absolutely. Well, Bryson, we were kind of speculating that when you pitted that last time, that was your last set of tires, and we kind of thought, if he gets a yellow flag, that could be a huge wrench in the strategy. Was that your last set of tires?
That was not my last set of tires, but I was very, very worried with only 1 set left and 60 laps to go. 20 laps on tires is easily enough that you need to pit. And we could have had that there where me or Robert would have been left sitting out there with the other one has a set of tires and is pulling away on the green flag. But luckily for me, that didn't work out. Could have been real interesting, but glad that didn't happen. Yeah, it was real interesting on tires.
How surprised were you that last green flag run really went on so long? Because it seemed like the first 2 stages we were getting cautions every 40 to 50 laps, and then this final stint it just stayed green. We had a few single car incidents that nearly caused a caution, but we managed to keep it green. Was that something you were expecting, or was this kind of almost unexpected that we were able to keep it green for so long?
Definitely wasn't expecting it at the start of stage 3. I was down to 3 sets of tires there at just past halfway out of 10 total, so I was worried when I talked to you guys. And at the rate we were going, I was definitely going to run out and have to make some hard choices. But it looks like a bunch of cars just got their final pieces of damage there in that last caution and just couldn't continue. And there was only about 12 or 13 cars still running on track. And at that point, there's enough space out there for us to spread out a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, one last question here, and you already kind of answered it. You kind of talked about how you're not too confident going into Circuit of the Americas because it is such a new track. I mean, it's kind of a blank slate. I don't think many of these drivers have much experience there. But what kind of preparations are you going to take going into next week? Are you going to kind of go into it with a different mindset, maybe put in a little bit of extra time, practicing, or just going to go into it and kind of hope that everybody else is kind of as in the dark as we might be?
Well, I put in a lot of extra work to the road courses last year, and it didn't quite work out. I had a lot of mistakes. I had the speed, but I was always driving off track or missing corners, and it wasn't working out. So I'm gonna have to put in a lot more this week. I have a grand total of 1 lap at Circuit of the Americas on iRacing right now, and it did not go well. So we'll see just how long it takes me to do it. It's going to be a real rough week of practicing and grinding.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go, Bryson, anybody that you'd like to shout out or thank?
I'd like to thank Robert for the setup baseline I worked off of. We kind of worked a little bit this week. He was real happy with the updates to it, and I was really not happy about the iRacing update in the middle of the week, but he did some good work on it, and then I was able to build off that for what I used tonight. Shout out to my sponsor, Hugger Oranges. Got the win for them. Did not work out at the beginning of the season with them on board, but we got the wins immediately when we switched to knee high, and now we got the wins back. We're swapping back to Hugger Oranges.
All right. Well, anyhow, again, congratulations on your 2nd win in a row. Good luck next week at COTA. And yeah, hopefully we're talking to you then.
Thanks, guys. Always good talking to you.
That was your race winner, Bryson Hicksonbaugh. And that is going to conclude our post-race coverage here at Dover. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and sticking around this late. It did just cross the midnight mark, just like last week. So I'm Andre Grambush with 3 Wide TV with Ashton Hartman and, of course, our producer, Carlos Acosta. Thanks for tuning in, and good night, everybody.